The story begins with the mighty demon king Ashley Ishwald glaring down at the heroes who have finally invaded his throne room, cursing the warriors determined to end his reign. Long ago, war consumed the Dark Continent as the Demon King's forces battled humans and fairies. When the conflict reached a stalemate, heroes from across the world stormed Ashley's castle. Neither side yielded during the savage confrontation, but after an exhausting exchange of magic and steel, the decisive battle finally approached its end. A female mage unleashes a devastating spell, tearing apart Ashley's demonic body. As his power collapses, he can only wonder what she has done to him. On the 12th night of a dim moon, Demon King Ashley Ishwald seemingly dies at 29 after 12 years of darkness. But his story is not truly over. Far away in Lahar, the kingdom's northernmost region, wounded adventurers desperately call for medicine and first aid, as another disastrous monster attack threatens to kill everyone. Their enemy is Burgunt, a first-class earth dragon. With supplies nearly exhausted and even the basilisks fleeing, the battered expedition realizes it cannot keep fighting much longer. Refusing to abandon anyone, Eris orders every adventurer still able to move to follow her while the others take cover, placing herself between the dragon and her companions. Although Burgunt's body is protected by nearly impenetrable scales, Eris spots an unarmored section on its abdomen and struggles to regain her balance after its overwhelming breath attack. Eris curses her misfortune. Burgunt struck before she could draw her trump card, the Holy Sword Meter. Facing death, she resolves to meet it proudly as a knight. A blinding impact interrupts the battle. When Eris regains awareness, she is astonished to discover that she is still alive and wonders what produced the mysterious light. Dust and debris fill the ruined battlefield, leaving Eris staring in disbelief as she tries to understand what has just happened. Nearby, an unfamiliar young man rises from the ground. Confused by both the stranger he glimpsed and his surroundings, he realizes this place is certainly not his castle. Ashley discovers that he now possesses a soft, fragile human body. Seeing only one enormous moon above him, he concludes that he has awakened in another world. The reborn Demon King notices the gigantic Burgunt looming over him. Mistaking its imposing form for a dragonkin, he calmly addresses it despite its hostile roar. Eris watches in shock as the stranger stands unharmed before Burgunt. She had expected to die, yet this strange human-looking boy somehow saved her. Burgunt uses its petrifying eye, but the curse causes Ashley neither pain nor irritation. Eris immediately recognizes the dragon's terrifying petrification ability. The petrification simply fails. While Eris previously struggled to dispel it, Ashley breaks free effortlessly and realizes that his Demon King powers followed him into this human body. Although he still does not fully understand his new form, Ashley decides that he has endured enough observation. Now it is his turn to attack. The expedition remembers how nearly 100 famous adventurers from the royal capital entered battle with careful plans and countermeasures. Yet, Burgunt still crushed them without difficulty. Ashley evades every strike Burgunt throws at him. Amused by the challenge, he warns the dragon that it will regret choosing him as an opponent. With movements too fast for the exhausted adventurers to follow, Ashley closes the distance and drives a crushing bare-handed blow into the massive dragon. Burgunt falls, leaving the witnesses stunned that a young man defeated it with his fists. Eris nevertheless approaches, determined to confirm whether his impossible strength is genuine. Eris demands his identity and asks how he defeated Burgunt barehanded, but Ashley cannot understand a single word of the unfamiliar language. Realizing he truly is in another world, Ashley worries that the language barrier could make him miss vital information. He decides to try one of his Demon King abilities. Using the dragon's remains, he absorbs knowledge about the world's geography, climate, creatures, magic, sciences, and currency. Eris senses the strange magical power he releases. Now able to understand her, Ashley asks what Eris is, while she demands the same answer and recognizes that he extracted information from Burgunt's corpse. Ashley openly confirms what he did. Eris thanks him for saving everyone, but their conversation becomes chaotic when the survivors bombard him with questions at once. Ashley insists that he only protected himself, while the adventurers struggle to accept that he defeated a dragon without a weapon and warn one another not to provoke him. Lanceluna remains suspicious despite Eris's gratitude, pointing out how impossible it should be to defeat the tyrant stone dragon bare-handed. Eris therefore begins by asking the stranger's name. The young man identifies himself as Ishuto, uncertain why that name now feels natural. He explains that he died and restarted life in a young body, whether they believe him or not. Eris introduces herself as Eris Frau Lisselvine and confirms that Ishuto defeated Burgunt. She also explains that the imposing creature beside the group is called a holy beast. The others proudly describe Eris as the renowned Ross Weissy, an individual job class meaning pure white knight, until the embarrassed heroine asks them to stop praising her. The remaining companions introduce themselves: Hunter Latessa Golf, Lanceluna Kallenberg, better known as Lance, and Lance's exclusive holy beast partner, Krull. They explain that their adventuring party is called the Silver Wolf Knights. Ishuto correctly suspects Eris leads them, while Lance immediately tries to make friends with him. After introductions, the group prepares to return to the royal capital with the wounded. Gilda remains curious about Ishuto, but agrees that questioning him can wait. Having defeated Burgunt and completed their special expedition, the survivors leave the battlefield and begin the journey back to the royal capital, Arios. Eris takes Ishuto to the royal capital's Adventurers Guild, instead of treating him as a criminal. She explains that monster extermination is generally handled by adventurers, not local authorities. Ishuto learns that the Silver Wolf Knights are an adventuring party rather than official knights. As they enter the guild, an enthusiastic woman rushes forward to welcome them. The woman introduces herself as Hortensia LeMay Verdelaine, director of the Royal Capital branch of the Adventurers Guild, though her extravagant greeting leaves Ishuto unsure where to look. Hortensia thanks Ishuto for saving the expedition, but he says he merely defended himself. She then asks him to remain at the guild while he explains his mysterious situation. Ancient scales allow Hortensia to detect lies, a tool she proudly uses as a guild director. Her intense love of adventurers makes the others question whether efficiency is her only motive. Ishuto truthfully reveals that he was Demon King Ashley Ishwald, ruler of the Dark Continent, until heroes raided his castle and killed him. He then awoke in this world with missing memories. The lie-detecting scales confirm that Ishuto believes every word. Hortensia misunderstands the result, pitying him as a traumatized boy who invented a Demon King identity to preserve his sanity. Because Demon Kings are considered bedtime story villains, Hortensia dismisses Ishuto's claim despite the scales. She even brands his strange account perverted, infuriating the former ruler. Hortensia congratulates Ishuto on gaining a second life, then bluntly explains his predicament. He has no documented birthplace, occupation, money, equipment, or recognized social standing. To live legally in Arios, Ishuto must become an adventurer. However, a guardian is required before an unknown jobless youth can enter the profession. Eris surprises everyone by volunteering to become Ishuto's guardian. Although Lance urges caution, Eris calmly says she has already made her decision. Hortensia happily places Ishuto under Eris's care. Eris admits that his incredible strength fascinates her, and she hopes to learn how to fight like him. Afterward, Eris's companions repeatedly question Ishuto. He decides to investigate why a celebrated knight works as an adventurer while updating his knowledge of this world on his own. Ishuto's path begins at an apprentice training ground, where an intimidating instructor welcomes the recruits by ordering them to start with stone-throwing practice. The instructor explains that apprentices must master basic throwing before graduating, while Ishuto agrees that even a simple rock should never be underestimated. When Ishuto casually throws his stone, it tears through the air with catastrophic force, leaving the entire training field frozen in disbelief. The projectile resembles the legendary meteor spell Meteo, making the witnesses wonder who unleashed such high-level magic and for what purpose. The impact disturbs a swarm of red worms. Although the instructor initially dismisses them as insects, Ishuto notices their dangerous numbers and their similarity to a guild warning. As the creatures surge toward them, Ishuto calmly steps forward, preparing to handle the violent swarm with his Demon King strength. Ishuto obliterates the worms in a barrage of explosive strikes. The instructor realizes the humble-looking student may have caused the earlier blast and could possess a hero's potential. The commotion summons an even larger monster, the King Worm. Ishuto dismisses the towering creature as another foolish insect standing in his way. Because both Ishuto and the monster bear the title of Lord, he challenges the King Worm wholeheartedly, and declares that their battle will continue until one of them falls. After recognizing that the kingworm's shell is as hard as diamond, Ishudo changes tactics and decides to destroy it from the inside, rather than waste power on its armor. Ishudo reaches directly into the kingworm's open jaws, terrifying the instructor and students. While they panic about his safety, the monster swallows his arm. The instructor orders everyone to retreat, but Ishudo's hand suddenly tears through the kingworm from within, ripping apart its supposedly invincible shell. Ishudo emerges victorious and laughs at how perfectly his plan worked. The stunned recruits celebrate, while he complains that the king of worms was far weaker than expected. Watching life continue beneath a peaceful sky, Ishudo decides defeat in his former world no longer matters. Every new dawn has value, and he will begin again here. Claiming this world as his next domain, Ishudo grants the fallen king worm peace. The instructor praises his splendid battle and asks the extraordinary student's name. The recruits swarm around Ishudo for handshakes, autographs, and an interview, declaring that a legendary super rookie has appeared before he has even become a licensed adventurer. From Ishudo's records, the staff notice both his abnormal status and his connection to Eris. They suspect an error, but decide the guild will measure him again after graduation. The Royal Adventurer Training School immediately graduates Ashley Ishwald as a Level 0 apprentice knight, while the crowd's relentless congratulations overwhelm the reluctant newcomer. Rumors race through Arios that a rookie named Ishudo graduated on his first day after defeating the entire worm swarm and its king, although townspeople repeatedly muddle his name. At a quiet bar, Hortensia excitedly tells Eris and the Silver Wolf Knights that everyone in the guild is discussing Ishudo, despite Gilda scolding the director for neglecting work. Gilda calls Hortensia shameless and immoral, which the director accepts as a compliment. Hortensia then reveals that Ishudo's results are astonishing enough to make their eyes pop out. The women learn that Ishudo was registered at level 0, an unprecedented result. His same-day graduation even surpasses Eris's famously short training record. Eris once graduated in only a month at 10 years old, yet Ishudo finished in a single morning. Since ordinary adventurers start at level 1, they suspect an analyst's mistake. Hortensia confirms that the analysts checked their work. Ishudo has already reached the limit of his level 0 potential, leaving his true strength impossible to measure. The director recounts how Ishudo single-handedly destroyed more than 100 red worms and their king, convincing Eris that he possesses strength no one can properly imagine. Ishudo's skill list is unreadably garbled, while his alignment data is equally abnormal. Hortensia cheerfully reveals that he stands entirely on the side of chaos. His order rating is 0 and his chaos rating is a perfect 100. Even after centuries of observation, Gilda has never seen anyone exceed 75, including history's cruelest tyrants. Hortensia cautions that alignment is only a rough indicator and does not decide whether someone becomes good or evil. Yet, the extreme numbers still leave the others uneasy. Eris realizes she and Ishudo possess exactly opposite alignments. Gilda admits she has been watching him and argues that stronger challenges, not routine expeditions, are necessary for Eris to grow. Although Hortensia jokes about the ominous match, the group agrees Ishudo cannot be ignored. Gilda then produces a copied manuscript containing an old prophecy. The prophecy was written by Gilda's long-dead rival, the witch Bregan. It predicts that, under a scarlet moon, the great demon king of terror will descend from the heavens. They realize the specified year and double April calendar match the present. Eris remembers the scarlet moon that appeared when Ishudo arrived, and fears the prophecy points directly to him. The lie-detecting scales had shown that Ishudo sincerely believed he was a demon lord. That troubling memory forces Eris to consider that his incredible story might actually be true. Gilda dismisses certainty, noting that Ishudo may simply be eccentric and that the future can always change. She then playfully licks Eris's cheek, startling her. Gilda asks why Eris has suddenly shown interest in a man. Eris insists Ishudo's overwhelming strength merely inspires her, though she admits her heart fluttered when he defeated Bergant. Lance becomes fiercely protective. But Latessa argues that Eris's first interest in a boy should be celebrated because the knight has always cared only about adventures. The group agrees not to treat the prophecy as absolute. Hortensia then says she expects great things from the brilliant Silver Wolf Knights, and has an important request for them. Hortensia asks the women to let Ishudo join their party, but Lance instantly rejects the proposal and declares him absolutely forbidden from the Silver Wolf Knights. Lance fears Eris may fall for Ishudo, while Eris calls her concern exaggerated. Hortensia promises to arrange another solution once Ishudo's adventurer license arrives. The next morning, Ishudo awakens in his messy new quarters. Despite the unfamiliar room, he slept better than expected and enjoys the surprising peace. Rather than ending with his death, Ishudo feels his life has only begun in this strange new world. A woman's voice outside soon interrupts his reflection. The voice recalls Ishudo's worst memories of women invading his old bedroom. Suspicious and alarmed, he demands that the visitor identify herself. The visitor is Elsie Noir, receptionist from the Royal Capital's Adventurers Guild. She has been assigned as Ishudo's personal attendant and offers help with any problem. Elsie explains that the training director submitted an enthusiastic recommendation, and that Eris serves as his guardian. Ishudo nevertheless admits he is not eager to become an adventurer. Elsie suggests he could become a knight or military tactician, but Ishudo prefers giving orders to following them. She concludes that adventuring suits his independent nature best. When Elsie catches him undressed, Ishudo dryly asks whether her tribe customarily visits without clothes. Mortified, she apologizes for entering at the wrong moment. Elsie helps fasten Ishudo's new outfit and teases that he is unexpectedly sweet, while he wonders what special service she thinks she has provided. Telling Ishudo that he needs to change himself, Elsie admits she only borrowed the phrase from her past. His shy reaction strikes her as unexpectedly adorable. With his level 0 apprentice knight license in hand, Ishudo walks through Arios. He accepts adventuring as the only legal way to earn money, despite his demon lord instincts. A timid flower seller offers Ishudo a blossom. He accepts it politely, compliments its fragrance, and leaves the flustered young woman delighted. The flowers cost 10 rion each, but Ishudo is completely broke. While apologizing that he only recently arrived in town, he accidentally blocks the busy road. Two lizardmen confront the flower seller, Rika, mocking the so-called friendly fire elf for abandoning adventuring to sell flowers. They order Rika never to use magic again and call her a disgrace. Her younger companion tries to intervene, but bystanders avoid the infamous elf rather than helping. Ishudo steps forward and addresses the two bullies as beasts. Enraged by the insult, they demand that he repeat what he said. The brothers insist they are proud lizardmen, not mere lizards, but Ishudo laughs at their boast and refuses to be intimidated. Ishudo humiliates the first lizard man with effortless magic. When the second threatens him for hurting his brother, the former demon lord remains completely unfazed. His spell produces an unexpected gender swap effect. Instead of turning the target into a chicken, the transformed lizard man flees with his horrified brother. The magic also makes the transformed sibling proclaim passionate love for his brother. Ishudo calmly explains the effect will wear off in a month, despite the victim's furious demands. Rika thanks Ishudo for saving her from the famous adventurer brothers. He returns her flower and says he intervened simply because he wanted to help. Recognizing Rika as an adventurer, Ishudo encourages her to keep working hard and walks away. Blushing, she wonders about the strange magic he used. The following morning, Rika receives a summons to the guild director's office. Nervously, she presents the notice to Elsie at reception. Elsie warns Rika not to cause trouble for other adventurers again, then leads her toward Hortensia's office, while Rika anxiously questions the director's intentions. Hortensia welcomes the nervous elf and announces a personal quest that Rika cannot refuse, immediately making the meeting sound more like an order than a request. The director threatens to revoke Rika's adventurer license if she refuses, then explains that the assignment concerns the mysterious rookie everyone is discussing, namely Ishudo. Hortensia describes Ishudo as a combat prodigy, capable of destroying not only Arios but perhaps the entire world, leaving Rika terrified by the scale of the responsibility. Despite Rika's alarm, Hortensia formally asks her to become Ishudo's supervisor and guide him through his early career as an adventurer. Rika calls the assignment impossible after imagining Ishudo annihilating the city, but Hortensia hastily claims that apocalyptic description was merely a metaphor. Changing tactics, Hortensia asks how much money Rika currently possesses, targeting the struggling elf's most immediate weakness. Rika has only 13 rian, barely enough for one bean pastry. Hortensia reminds her that she was recently reduced to searching the street for loose change. The director suggests Rika abandon adventuring for lucrative work in the red light district. But the proud half-elf refuses, because becoming an adventurer has always been her dream. Rika explains that a picture book black mage inspired her childhood dream. Her elf father vanished on a journey, while her sick mother remains in their village and needs monthly support. Hortensia reveals a glittering payment large enough to transform Rika's desperate circumstances, instantly capturing the impoverished half-elf's attention. 1 coin could clear Rika's debts and support her mother. Hortensia insists few people can complete this personal request, and says Rika is uniquely suited to it. Hortensia explains that Ishudo distrusts established parties, so an approachable country girl may reach him. She jokingly adds Rika's kind nature and ample figure to the list of qualifications. With her license and livelihood at stake, Rika finally accepts the assignment. Hortensia thanks her and prepares to link the reluctant supervisor with Ishudo. Hortensia suddenly uses gravity magic to pin Rika down, demonstrating both her overwhelming power and the frightening pressure behind the supposedly voluntary request. Delighting in Rika's tearful expression, Hortensia orders her to approach Ishudo naturally, ideally form a party with him, and report back within 3 days. 3 days later, Rika pounds on Ishudo's lodging house door and repeatedly calls his name until the sleepy former demon lord finally wakes to investigate the noise. Rika awkwardly checks on Ishudo's health first thing in the morning. He is relieved he managed to dress before answering, then asks why she truly came. Rika explains that Ishudo has not visited the guild or accepted a quest during the 3 days since receiving his license, despite now being a fully registered adventurer. Ishudo defends his inactivity. He worked without a single rest day in his previous life, and no one in this world has yet complained about how he spends his new freedom. The guild currently pays for his room and food. The insects fled his presence, and nothing disturbs his sleep. Ishudo sees no reason to abandon such a peaceful existence. Rika warns that continued idleness will make him useless and that guild's support is limited. Without accomplishments, Ishudo could eventually lose his adventurer license. Enraged at being called useless, Ishudo finally gives in. Rika drags him toward the guild, promising to turn him into an upstanding adventurer despite his protests. At the Royal Capital Branch, Elsie explains that other adventurers have already taken the best morning assignments, leaving no immediately appealing quest for Ishudo. Ishudo wants a lucrative challenge, but Rika insists he begin with rookie work. Strength alone cannot replace learning the profession's basic rules and responsibilities. The available task is mushroom gathering. Ishudo considers it beneath him, but Rika warns that arrogant adventurers who dismiss simple assignments are often the first to die. Ishudo reluctantly accepts, only for Rika to discover he owns no weapons or equipment. He argues that bare hands were enough against Burgunt and the King Worm. Rika is about to overlook his stubbornness when she suddenly becomes unwell. Elsie notices her condition and greets the familiar half-elf. Rika formally introduces herself as Henrika Strandl, a level 1 black mage, and thanks Ishudo for helping her earlier. He realizes her nickname comes from her full name. Ishudo gives his name as Ashley Ishwald but asks to be called Ishudo. Rika turns pale, stunned that Hortensia's dangerous target is the very man who rescued her. Elsie asks Rika to support Ishudo's mushroom quest because her elven blood grants a harvesting skill, useful for locating and identifying medicinal plants. Despite Rika's hesitation, Ishudo decides to add the reliable adventurer to his forces. Elsie assures her that there is no need to worry. Elsie privately warns Rika not to recklessly spam her magic, confusing Ishudo. The women avoid explaining the history behind that very specific caution. Rika admits that being a mage without dependable magic makes her feel useless. But Elsie insists she has many other good qualities. Elsie praises Rika's looks and suggests becoming a dancer who charms enemies and supports allies. But Rika is clumsy and has crippling stage fright, trapping her in a vicious circle. Elsewhere in the guild, adventurers celebrate defeating a single-cornered goblin. Their good mood soars when they notice the infamous friendly fire elf. They openly mock Rika for remaining an adventurer and wish someone would request her removal. Ishudo hears the insults and recognizes that they are targeting his new retainer. A rock suddenly blasts through the guild window near the offenders. Ishudo declares that insulting his retainer is no different from insulting her master. The adventurers dismiss the projectile as a neighborhood prank, unaware Ishudo threw it. He considers roasting them, until Rika hurriedly restrains his anger. Elsie arrives and orders everyone away from the shattered crystal. She leads Ishudo and Rika outside, while preparing to deal with the damage. When Ishudo admits breaking the window, Elsie lets him off with a warning, but reminds him that someone must clean and repair it, and next time he will pay. Rika ushers Ishudo away before Elsie returns. Learning that neither has eaten, and that Rika has gone 2 days without food, they decide not to begin a quest hungry. Ishudo directs the meal bill to the Adventurers Guild, leaving Rika amazed that he pays nothing himself, and the staff resigned to covering his expenses. With Elsie's permission, the guild will support Ishudo until his income stabilizes. He and Rika then head toward the tourist destination and rookie field known as Lizareg Alna Forest. The well-worn path proves the peaceful forest receives many visitors. Ishudo tells the nervous Rika to relax because she is now officially one of his troops. Ishudo asks whether this forest's plants eat humans or animals, explaining that man-eating vegetation is normal in his homeland and should be added to his world knowledge. Rika apologizes for insulting his birthplace, privately realizing her companion is anything but normal. She then points out that every nearby monster has been avoiding Ishudo. The pair reaches beautiful Alna Lake, a famous tourist landmark, whose calm scenery contrasts sharply with Ishudo's frightening expectations of a forest. Their destination is the island where the god tree Einzel grows, and spirit sage mushrooms can be harvested. Ishudo ignores Rika's boat plan and chooses a faster crossing. Ishudo lifts Rika like a princess and tells her to hold tight. Before she can finish protesting, he launches them toward the island. They soar high over Alna Lake, while Rika screams in disbelief. Then Ishudo lands on the far shore with enough force to crater the ground. After recovering from the terrifying crossing, Rika follows Ishudo toward the god tree and begins searching for the requested spirit sage mushrooms. Armored bugs surround Einzel. Rika realizes the monsters that fled Ishudo earlier have become trapped on the island and are now attacking around the sacred tree. Rika invokes the flame god Ignika and starts a grand black magic chant. Ishudo repeatedly tries to get her attention, but she is too focused to hear his warning. Her spell erupts across the island in an enormous inferno, engulfing the armored bugs and everything around the god tree. Realizing she has once again unleashed magic indiscriminately, Rika despairs as the flames swallow Ishudo's position and Elsie's warning proves painfully justified. Rika was born with immense magical power and devoted herself to becoming the Black Mage from her beloved picture book, but actual battle always made that dream collapse. On her first quest, panic caused every spell to become a wide-area attack, and she accidentally struck all 9 members of her own party while fighting an unexpected enemy. Her magic ultimately saved the party from annihilation, but the direct attacks wounded the allies who had trusted her, earning Rika the cruel nickname Friendly Fire Elf. The resulting rumors destroyed Rika's confidence. Believing she should never have become a black mage, she sobs that her uncontrolled attack has now killed Ishudo too. Ishudo casually answers from behind her, completely unharmed. Rika initially mistakes him for a ghost before realizing he survived the inferno. Rika apologizes and calls herself a mage who only hurts friends. But Ishudo says her critics are wrong. An attack capable of erasing 30,000 allies instantly cannot be called mere friendly fire. He recalls accidentally blasting off his father's arm, which immediately regenerated. More importantly, Ishudo recognizes that Rika's mana exceeds normal human limits and could destroy an army. Ishudo tells Rika she remains far from her potential and might become an imperial mage if she keeps improving. His encouragement finally begins restoring her confidence. Unfortunately, even Einzel could not withstand Rika's heat. Standing before the burned god tree, she thanks Ishudo and admits she is glad they met. Rika then imagines execution, public humiliation, and even punishment for her parents because an elf-blooded adventurer destroyed the sacred tree. Ishudo tells her to stop crying and seek a solution. Running away is impossible because the guild keeps records, so Rika resolves to surrender and beg mercy for her mother. Ishudo bluntly calls her an idiot, then decides to help anyway. As the ruined tree groans, Ishudo admits he does not dislike complete idiots. He releases his power into Ainzel instead of abandoning Rika to punishment. The god tree surges back to life under Ishuto's magic, rising whole from the scorched ground and leaving Rika speechless at another impossible feat. The fairy Ainzel emerges from inside the restored tree and tries to flee. Ishudo grabs the tiny being before it can escape, while Rika begs him not to squeeze it like an insect. Ainzel reveals that Rika's spell was true hellfire and claims resurrection is impossible without mana equal to 100 elves. Ishuto presses for a direct solution. The fairy explains the enormous cost, but Ishuto notes that 100 elves equal roughly 30,000 humans and offers his own power without hesitation. Ishuto begins channeling mana into the god tree. The sheer force flooding through the ritual immediately overwhelms Ainzel and Rika. The energy is endless, dark, and incredibly strong. As the tree absorbs more and more of Ishuto's mana, even he wonders how far the process will go. The rebirth surrounds them with dreamlike light. Ishuto recognizes the strange sensation as something he has experienced before, though the memory remains unclear. Ainzel and Rika watch in awe as the god tree fully resurrects, blooming with new leaves and life under Ishuto's overwhelming power. Rejuvenated enough to live another 100,000 years, Ainzel gives Ishuto a legendary fruit that appears only once every millennium as thanks for restoring the tree. The effort finally catches up with Ishuto. After accepting the rare fruit, his body gives out and he collapses beside the startled Rika. Ainzel offers Ishuto shelter beneath the tree, assuming he exhausted his mana. Rika gently praises him for everything he accomplished before he rests. When Ishuto awakens, Rika anxiously checks his condition. He admits he is not at his best but insists he can continue if necessary. Before harvesting, the hungry Ichisutu tries to eat an appealing mushroom. Rika repeatedly stops him because the attractive specimens he chooses are dangerously poisonous. Ishuto thanks Rika for saving him from the deceptive mushrooms. Embarrassed, she says, "It is no great matter," and offers to repair the clothes damaged during the battle. Ishuto next wants to eat Ainzel's beautiful fruit, but Rika protests that such a legendary item should be preserved or sold, not treated like ordinary food. He argues that eating native food while admiring Alna Lake is an elegant experience, then insists Rika must share the fruit with him. Rika feels unworthy even to touch the 1,000-year treasure, but Ishuto cuts it in half and makes clear that refusal is no longer an option. Treating the tasting as a historic moment, Rika nervously counts down so they can bite their halves at the same time. The fruit's extraordinary flavor overwhelms them both. Rika feels as though she is ascending to heaven, while Ishuto recognizes a taste beyond anything in this world. Ecstasy makes Rika slip into her hometown accent. Ishuto says she need not hide it, then carefully asks whether she had been planning to quit adventuring. Before Rika can retreat into shame, Ishuto invites her to join his troops and makes clear that he wants her beside him on future quests. Rika bursts into tears because no fellow adventurer has ever asked her to stay. Ishuto calls her dramatic, but patiently waits for her emotional answer. Ishuto assures Rika that her black magic cannot hurt him. From now on, she can focus on proving to the world that she is more than the friendly fire elf. In the Veldana mountain range northeast of Lehar, a mysterious woman senses overwhelming power coming from Arios and realizes her mother's prophecy may be unfolding. The woman, Darsha, recalls the prophecy about the great demon king of terror. Though she dislikes crowds, she decides to visit the royal capital and see him herself. Darsha departs through the mountains with a monstrous magical companion, convinced that meeting the prophesied figure will be worth the journey. Several days after the mushroom quest, Ishuto grows bored during his enforced week of rest. Browsing the Lizareg Gaina can no longer satisfy him. Escaping the lodging staff, Ishuto slips outside and decides to spend the day freely exploring Arios, instead of remaining confined indoors. From a high overlook, Ishuto admires the royal capital and dreams of claiming its castle one day, though his dwindling money reminds him of immediate concerns. After buying lunch, Ishuto has only 2,000 rion left and needs equipment. He also resolves to help Rika improve by correcting her poor target selection through field practice. Turning into an alley, Ishuto suddenly sees a woman falling from above and catches her in his arms before she hits the ground. The rescued woman is Eris, now dressed very differently from her adventuring attire. Ishuto carries her safely while she recovers from the surprise. Eris thanks Ishudo and calls their meeting a pleasant coincidence. He is shocked that she knows his name, while she cannot believe he fails to recognize her. Ishudo finally identifies Eris from her voice, explaining he had only seen her in adventuring gear. She asks about his quests and mentions his remarkable same-day graduation. Noticing Eris's repeated sighs, Ishudo asks what troubles her. Remembering that he owes his guardian, he agrees to consider a favor depending on what she requests. Eris unexpectedly asks Ishudo to abduct her. Aristocratic guards immediately confront the apparent peasant and order him away from the noblewoman. Eris explains the men are trying to capture her. Annoyed by their vulgar attitude, Ishudo decides to honor her request and formally declares that he will abduct her. With Eris holding tightly to him, Ishudo launches away across the rooftops before the stunned guards can stop them. They escape into the crowd, but Eris's elaborate noble dress attracts too much attention. Ishudo decides they must find her ordinary clothing. Inside a shop, Eris discovers she left her wallet behind and offers 2,000 rion. Ishudo realizes that amount is all the money he currently possesses. The shop owner, Shirin Lukup, is astonished to see Eris alone with a man. After briefly mistaking Ishudo for an enemy, she introduces herself and prepares a disguise. As Eris changes, Shirin explains the quieter parts of the capital and asks Ishudo to memorize them. He refuses her suggestion that they exchange clothes outdoors. Shirin recognizes Ishudo as the promising rookie connected to the Demon Castle Tavern and teases Eris about him, while Ishudo asks what food could make him grow larger. Eris emerges in Shirin's clothes, but the tight fit embarrasses both women. Shirin apologizes repeatedly while Eris insists she has nothing to apologize for. Ishudo does not pressure Eris to explain why she fled, telling her she can speak only when ready. His unexpected patience puts her at ease. Eris offers to show Ishudo the armor shop she regularly visits, since he had been searching for equipment before their sudden escape. With only 2,000 rion available, Ishudo enters the Dragon God scale armor shop. The owner welcomes Eris and assures Ishudo that looking costs nothing. Eris introduces Ishudo as the rookie under her guardianship. The owner recognizes the town's newest celebrity, but laughs at the tiny amount of money Ishudo carries. Instead of wasting his savings, Ishudo asks about armor specializing in magic resistance. Eris immediately wonders why that particular protection matters so much. The owner has heard that Ishudo parties with Henreka, the friendly fire elf. He understands Ishudo wants protection from his own companion's uncontrolled magic. While examining Ishudo, the owner detects a thin mana layer floating above his skin and suspects this unusual defense is the secret behind the rookie's durability. Ishudo was unaware of the innate skill. The owner suggests treating his clothes as part of his body, so the same mana layer will protect them. Ishudo expands the barrier over his clothing, then borrows a sword and asks Eris to cut him so they can test whether the technique truly works. Eris slashes directly across Ishudo's torso, but the reinforced clothing does not tear. Both realize he successfully extended the mana shield. The impressed owner concludes Ishudo needs no armor at all. Although the borrowed sword breaks during the test, the shopkeeper lets them leave without demanding payment. Rika sees Ishudo and Eris together and becomes jealous of their apparent closeness. She resolves to focus on assisting Ishudo and growing into a top-class black mage. Eris pulls Ishudo onward, promising to introduce her regular weapon seller and collect a sword sent for sharpening before the day slips away. They arrive at an elegant weapon shop called the Victory Song of the God of War, where displays of blades immediately capture Ishudo's attention. Still following at a distance, Rika scolds herself for the jealousy and renews her determination to fight beside Ishudo as a worthy partner. Ishudo confirms that the luxurious store is Eris's usual weapon shop. She leads him inside to search for something suitable. A cat-eared clerk named Carlin is stunned that Eris brought a man and becomes openly jealous. Eris introduces Ishudo as the newbie adventurer under her guardianship. Carlin finds Ishudo handsome and promising. Eris collects her sharpened holy sword Misselton, sending the bill to the Silver Wolf Knights as usual. Because Ishudo once wielded a sword, Carlin offers him a popular Zima's broadword, praised as light, sharp, and durable. Although Eris remembers mocking the brand in the past, the moment Ishudo handles the new weapon, it shatters into fragments. Carlin is horrified, that the industry's biggest atelier produced a blade unable to withstand him. Eris realizes Ishuto unconsciously pours mana into whatever he holds. When he tries the shop's Agni greatsword, that expensive weapon breaks exactly the same way. Ishuto explains that his former sword contained a Demon Lord gemstone and transformed his mana into different effects without breaking, but he does not know whether that material exists here. Eris and Carlin recognize his description as the legendary Eastern scimitar, forged from demon iron ore and a special stone resembling Ishuto's gemstone. Demon iron is rare. Only specialized master blacksmiths can work it, and none live in Arios. Ishuto resolves to mine the ore himself and find a willing craftsman. Rika interrupts the intimate-looking discussion and asks who will pay for the 2 destroyed swords. Eris reluctantly agrees to cover the costly damage. Carlin marvels that the once adventure-obsessed Eris now behaves like an ordinary girl around Ishuto. She promises to research the Eastern scimitar while teasing her friend. Outside, the city is packed for a harvest festival honoring the Mother Earth goddess. Eris and Ishuto blend into the crowd while enjoying the unexpectedly lively celebration. Ishuto discovers crepes, a portable pastry unknown in his old world. Since he spent his money on Eris's disguise, she offers to buy one as thanks for his help. He finds the crepe delicious and solemnly promises to remember the flavor. Lance suddenly appears after tracking Eris through the festival. Lance scolds Eris for disguising herself and reveals her father is deeply worried. Realizing her brief escape has ended, Eris apologizes for deceiving Ishuto. Eris finally explains that her father ordered her high society debut, but she wants to continue adventuring instead. Ishuto offers help and asks what choice she truly desires. Eris resolves to speak honestly with her father rather than keep running. If he refuses to understand, she will leave home for good, and Ishuto promises to abduct her again if needed. Eris shyly says she may accept that promise someday. The pair share a quiet moment before she returns to her family, and Ishuto remains at the festival. High above Arios, Darsha commands Muspelheim's ancient guardian, and uses her mother's authority to summon the legendary flame giant Surtur. Lightning splits the sky as the colossal armored giant materializes over the royal capital, turning the cheerful festival into immediate terror. Surtur crashes into the city and begins destroying buildings. Eris instantly summons a weapon and moves to defend the fleeing civilians. Darsha watches from a rooftop, pleased that the world has been set ablaze, and tells the unleashed giant to enjoy itself. Ishuto initially mistakes the destruction for festival entertainment, but the panic proves it is real. Eris prepares to fight despite warnings that she lacks her usual armor. A terrifying command to destroy the royal capital echoes through the streets as Surtur advances, forcing the unarmed adventurers into an emergency battle. Lance urges Eris to reconsider facing the monster without armor. But Eris reminds everyone she can produce a weapon and refuses to abandon the city. The Silver Wolf Knights regroup, yet none recognize the dangerous creature. Lance suggests that the ancient witch Gilda may know its identity. Gilda teleports directly onto Lance's shoulders, despite the country's restrictions on teleportation. After joking about her seat, she turns her attention to the giant. Gilda identifies Surtur as one of the highest-ranked summoned beasts. She reasons that the skilled summoner controlling it is probably watching from somewhere high above. Eris decides they must stop Surtur until the Imperial Knights arrive. Though Lance argues this exceeds normal adventurer work, the others follow their leader. While the group debates plans and jurisdiction, Surtur continues tearing apart Arios. Ishuto reminds them that every wasted moment costs more lives and property. Ishuto has no attachment to the capital itself, but it houses many people who helped him and serves excellent food. He therefore refuses to let a summoned beast destroy it. Eris draws Surtur's attention and declares herself its opponent, only to discover that ordinary magical bullets cannot penetrate its flaming body. She targets the giant's joints, searching for a vulnerable point. But Surtur's unnatural form makes every conventional attack behave strangely. Eris's sword would normally melt against such heat, yet its power still causes no real physical damage. The group concludes Surtur may not possess a solid body. Gilda explains that Surtur is essentially a mass of flames shaped like an armored giant. Ishuto's plan is for Eris and Latessa to act as decoys while he prepares a counterattack. Eris activates Flugel and displays the speed of a white knight, racing through the streets while drawing Surtur away from civilians. Elsewhere, Lance worries that Eris is late and regrets staying behind. Gilda reminds her that each member already accepted a role and must trust the others. Eris's ability keeps Surtur focused on her as she leads it toward Ishido's position. Gilda warns that the interception window will be extremely short. Eris delivers Surtur on cue. Gilda invokes Barbarossa, god of darkness, and begins the spell Ishido requested. Gilda opens the gate of Tartarus, forming a massive dark barrier and trapping Surtur inside the prepared battlefield. Ishido praises the little witch's work. With the giant contained, he can finally fight to his heart's content without worrying about the surrounding city. Declaring playtime over, Ishido charges directly at Surtur, eager to test his reborn strength against a legendary summoned beast. Gilda's barrier comes under attack from swarms of lesser salamanders, accompanying Surtur. She orders the others to handle the small fry while Ishido faces the giant. Rika and the Silver Wolf Knights clash with the salamanders, discovering that the creatures self-destruct when pushed to the verge of death. Although the salamanders are fragile, more appear whenever their numbers fall, and any survivors immediately attack the barrier, threatening to free Surtur. Surtur mocks Ishido's speed and swings a colossal blazing weapon, confident that no human child can evade the strike. The blow releases heat greater than Bergant's dragon breath. Even Ishido is surprised by the intensity as the fiery sword closes in. To everyone's disbelief, Ishido stops Surtur's giant sword with his bare hands, holding back the legendary weapon through raw strength alone. Ishido calls the heat duller than his old castle's sauna. His new mana-coated clothes also remain completely unharmed, proving the armor shop technique works. Grinning, Ishido seizes Surtur's weapon and begins breaking the summoned giant's control over the battle. He notices Rika among the defenders and asks why she came. Her shaking body reveals that the chaos and explosions have revived her fear of friendly fire. Seeing an opportunity, Ishido smiles and commands Rika to lend him her magical power at the most dangerous moment of the fight. Rika freezes in disbelief, terrified that using her uncontrollable spell amid so many allies will repeat the tragedy that ruined her reputation. Ishido's trust reminds Rika of his limitless power and the way he survived her flames. She begins to understand that he truly expects her to surpass his imagination. Still trembling, Rika apologizes for her cowardice and remains frozen on the ground. Ishido sharply tells her that her hesitation is becoming annoying. He reminds Rika that she already entered his army, making support her duty. He also explains that Surtur lost its weapon after Ishido shattered it. Salamanders bombard the area with fireballs, while Gilda exhausts herself maintaining the summoning barrier, leaving the team little time to act. Ishido taunts the frightened Rika, then asks whether she can use water magic against the flame giant's natural weakness. Rika has only recently learned the beginner freezing spell Blizzard, but Ishido points out that even her simple fireball once caused catastrophic destruction. He tells her not to fear hitting Eris or the others because they are capable of dodging. While Rika chants, he will handle the approaching danger. Ishido plants himself between Rika and the battlefield, promising to protect her completely, while she concentrates on finishing the spell. Surrounded by salamanders, lava, and the impossibly strong giant, Rika discovers she is no longer afraid. She invokes Polaris and calls upon the icy power of the north. Ishido warns the Silver Wolf Knights that an enormous spell is coming and tells them to deal with it however they wish, leaving the decoys confused but ready. Eris and Latessa accept the warning while Gilda invokes Aquaria, goddess of water, preparing her own defense against Rika's rapidly growing magic. Rika releases Blizzard, flooding the entire sealed battlefield with a massive wave of freezing energy that engulfs salamanders and giant alike. The supposedly beginner spell becomes first-class ice magic. Diamond dust fills the air as Surtur's flames freeze solid under the impossible cold. Gilda admits that Rika's vast range spell can compete with her own black magic, an astonishing feat for someone still registered as a level 1 mage. Henrika Strandal completely freezes the salamander army, together with the flame giant, revealing extraordinary talent far beyond her reputation. Ishido had noticed that destroyed salamanders were always replaced until exactly 13 existed. Now frozen together and unable to self-destruct, they become helpless targets. Ishido entrusts Rika to Eris and tells everyone to leave the rest to him. Eris warns against attacking before discovering Surtur's weakness. Remembering that Surtur's body is made of flames, Ishudo agrees that careless punches will not work and promises to account for its unusual nature. He instantly destroys all 13 frozen salamanders, removing the swarm before any can replace another or threaten Gilda's barrier. The sudden exertion triggers something inside Ishudo. As his consciousness begins fading, he is pulled toward a buried memory. The sensation matches the moment of his apparent death, forcing Ishudo to relive what truly happened in the final battle against the heroes. Ashley remembers a terrifying flash produced by the heroes, a power so great that even the world's strongest demon lord trembled. He realizes the heroes used a forbidden art to defeat him. Their willingness to embrace something so evil still fills him with disgust and bitter amusement. Though part of Ashley resisted the truth, the other half understood there was nothing he could do. The heroes defeated him completely and utterly. As cold darkness swallowed him, Ashley believed death had finally arrived, and wondered whether this emptiness was the end. He had transformed into his ultimate form and fought with every last resource. Yet his memories broke apart as the forbidden spell cast him away. Ashley now understands that his human appearance is not reincarnation at all. It is the ultimate form his transformation reached while his mind suppressed the traumatic memories. The truth becomes clear. Ishudo never died and started a new life. The heroes transferred the original demon lord bodily into another world. Awakening inside Gilda's barrier, Ishudo hears her propose retreat. The others are badly injured, and removing the barrier appears to be their safest option. Eris shielded the group for a crucial second, but Surtur's attack still rendered them unconscious. Ishudo realizes everyone needs immediate treatment. Lance retains enough magic to transport the wounded, despite Gilda criticizing her training. Ishudo reveals his recovered memories also restored telepathic communication. Ishudo orders Gilda to concentrate every remaining drop of mana on maintaining the barrier, then turns back towards Surtur instead of withdrawing. He dismisses Surtur's identity and arrogance. Unimpressed even after the giant watched him erase 13 salamanders in an instant, Ishudo announces that the demon lord Ashley Ishwald will now fight seriously, laughing as he realizes his supposed human body had only made him restrain himself. Freed from that mental limiter, Ishudo confronts Surtur at full confidence and asks whether the legendary giant is ready for the real battle. With one overwhelming strike, Ishudo breaks through Surtur's frozen exterior, reducing the summoned giant's imposing armor to scattered debris. Inside the flames, Ishudo discovers a magical gemstone serving as Surtur's core. By coincidence, the shining stone is also the giant's decisive weakness. Refusing to be looked down upon merely because Surtur is a famous summoned beast, Ishudo drives his attack toward the exposed core. The demon lord crushes the gemstone and destroys Surtur, ending the giant's assault with a blow that tears apart its entire flaming body. 3 days later, reconstruction in Arios proceeds smoothly. Hortensia reviews the damage while checking how Gilda has settled after the crisis. Healing magic restored Eris and the others. Lance was severely wounded, but her thick armor prevented fatal damage, allowing her to resume normal life. Lance's legendary equipment was destroyed, though royal craftsmen should repair it without an outrageous fee. Hortensia asks whether Gilda feels guilty for endangering Eris. Gilda cannot know whether her plan was perfect, but Hortensia praises the rapid response. Together they stopped Surtur without sacrificing a single life. Their greatest concern is Brigand's prophecy. With the Scarlet Moon, Surtur's attack, and Ishudo's growing legend, they can only hope he never becomes the great evil king of terror. Meanwhile, crowds celebrate Ishudo as the capital's new hero and even propose marriage. The former demon lord finds the praise humiliating rather than flattering. Back in his room, Rika visits after using her reward to pay for healing. Ishudo checks her condition, and she confirms that the white mage restored her fully. Rika also jumped directly from level 1 to level 3 after performing her extraordinary ice spell. Ishudo remains level 0 despite defeating Surtur. His stats are still maxed, yet no accomplishment changes the number. Ishudo puts the mystery aside and asks whether public excitement has calmed. Most citizens have settled down, though fanatics still force Rika to hide beneath a hood. Her nickname has shifted from Friendly Fire Elf to Chilling Elf. Ishudo jokes that the name sounds like a restaurant dish, and says she might otherwise be called the Wedding Elf. making Rika desperately beg him to keep that secret. Rika suddenly confesses that Hortensia paid her to monitor Ishudo after the mushroom quest. Ashamed of accepting the request, she apologizes directly. Ishudo understands why a broke, hungry adventurer accepted the money and says he is accustomed to surveillance. Rika nevertheless promises to stop hiding or lying to him. Although Ishudo considers the matter closed, Rika insists on punishment and dramatically offers to do anything necessary for his forgiveness. Elsie walks in just as Ishudo appears to be looming over Rika, producing spectacular misunderstanding that both scramble to explain. After apologizing, Elsie announces the guild's reward for the Surtur incident. Ishudo immediately demands proper compensation for saving the royal capital. The guild wants his continued cooperation and decides that leaving him in cheap quarters would be inappropriate. So Elsie offers an upgraded residence. The reward is a 3-star lodging, the highest class of accommodation, renowned among adventurers for exceptional rooms and service. A room for 2 is available, and Elsie asks Rika to move in as well. Rika panics because she cannot possibly afford such luxury. The guild will cover both residents for 3 months. Ishudo promises to help Rika earn future expenses while she improves her magic. Elsie celebrates the birth of their new party, hands over the details, and leaves Ishudo and Rika to inspect their reward. The lodging is unexpectedly named Demon Lord Castle. Ishudo had imagined a palace, yet the familiar titles makes him wonder where he heard of the establishment. The proprietor is Shiran, who immediately calls Ishudo the hero who saved Arios. He begs her to stop ruining his mood with titles like Hero Ishudo or Hero King. Rika introduces herself as Henrika Strandel, only for Shiran to recognize the chilling elf. The embarrassed mage asks everyone to use her nickname instead. Shiran leads them through Demon Lord Castle, explaining that the lobby contains a restaurant by day and bar at night, while their prepared room is upstairs. The luxurious suite has separate living and sleeping spaces, but only 1 bedroom. Shiran reveals it is the sole vacant room despite being listed for 2 people. Ishudo decides they will share it, leaving Rika flustered. The natural hot spring public bath downstairs makes their new home even more extravagant. After Shiran leaves, Ishudo asks how Rika feels about living in the same room and takes her hand, sending her imagination racing toward romance. Ishudo gravely asks whether Rika is prepared to bear his child someday. She nearly collapses, believing this is a sacred duty for someone serving him. He immediately clarifies that they are only dividing the bedroom. 1 bed is his territory and the other is hers. Rika realizes her imagination ran wildly ahead. Ishudo warns that crossing the territorial boundary would mean war, while Rika hurriedly insists she has no intention of invading his side of the room. For reassurance, they form a verbal non-aggression pact. With the awkward arrangement settled, Ishudo suggests visiting the hot spring before beginning lighter quests together. Rika remains unsatisfied with the compromise, but the warmth of the natural spring soon calms her frustration and embarrassment. Meanwhile, Ishudo studies the many available baths and struggles to choose which spring will receive the honor of serving him first. He encounters Kroll and asks why the holy beast is wandering without Letessa. The hunter soon arrives, delighted to find her missing partner. Kroll had escaped while Letessa tried to wash him, apparently using one of his mysterious abilities to teleport. Ishudo is surprised by the holy beast's versatility. Although they are alone, Letessa reminds Ishudo this is still a public area and tells him to cover himself. She recommends the secret Flower Hot Spring. The Flower Hot Spring has only 1 entrance because it is a mixed bath. Letessa insists on joining Ishudo and Kroll despite his immediate hesitation. Letessa reveals the Silver Wolf Knights reserved the entire spring for a meeting. She eagerly anticipates Lance's reaction when Ishudo walks inside. Ishudo enters and openly enjoys the women's fragrance, but the shocked Silver Wolf Knights order him out before Letessa fully explains the situation. Once everyone realizes Letessa invited him, Lance hurls a bucket while Ishudo tries to calm the chaos. Letessa laughs at the uproar she deliberately created. After the misunderstanding settles, Letessa notices Ishudo still has not washed and offers help. He admits royal servants always handled bathing in his former life. Rika and the others also offer to wash him as personal thanks for surviving Surtur, turning a simple bath into a competition over who may repay him. Letessa takes charge, tells Ishudo to keep his eyes closed, and presses close while scrubbing him, creating exactly the embarrassing situation she seems to enjoy. Ishudo notices the unusually hairy body washing him, and discovers Kroll has taken Latessa's place, exposing another prank by the mischievous hunter. Lance sternly warns Ashley Ishwald not to stare at Eris's body. Ishudo replies that if he wanted to look, he would do it openly rather than steal glimpses. Latessa teases that Eris's figure is wasted on a night, provoking both Lance and Ishudo until Eris orders everyone to calm down. The conversation turns to Ishudo and Rika's party name. His suggestions, such as underworld sorcerers and rulers of the world, are dismissed as unintentionally hilarious. Ishudo claims ordinary people cannot understand a genius's language, but even Eris recommends that he not choose alone. Everyone agrees to brainstorm together. Back at Demon Lord Castle, Ishudo asks Rika's opinion. She timidly suggests Team Ishudo, a name recommended by adventurers she met in the hot spring. Ishudo thinks the name lacks a Demon Lord's impact, while Eris and the others disliked his grander ideas. Their discussion stops when a faint voice begs for help. The exhausted speaker emerges like a ghost, startling Rika and Ishudo as she drags herself toward them and pleads for assistance. The stranger grabs Ishudo's ankle. Although she looks like a child, she insists she is a fully licensed adventurer rather than a helpless girl. Ishudo and Rika prepare to take her to a doctor, only to discover that her desperate condition comes from hunger rather than a fatal injury. They feed the starving adventurer in the guild dining room, where she devours plate after plate and treats Rika for the first good meal she has had in ages. She introduces herself as 14-year-old Mirabuka Stelvio from the port city of Verona. Ishudo shortens her name to Mirabu and asks about her failed delivery quest. Mirabu explains that monsters cornered her during the delivery. She climbed a tree to hide, but hunger forced her to consume the package's contents. The stolen delivery had contained expensive, high-class fruit. With no supplies and an empty stomach, Mirabu ate it all before eventually reaching the capital. Rika returns from the bath, recognizes Mirabu, and is relieved to see her alive after a week-long disappearance. Their reunion becomes an argument when Rika questions Mirabu's job. The girl angrily rejects the idea that a tool warrior is merely a stepping stone to becoming a major knight. Mirabu explains that generations of the Stelvio family have proudly served adventurers as tool warriors. Even though everyone continually underestimates the profession, despite its low profile, Mirabu dreams of making the royal capital acknowledge tool warriors and becoming the strongest one in the world. Her family helped make Verona the pearl of the Alicia Sea, but Mirabu's shouting disturbs the other diners. Ishudo says her behavior, not her job, is the problem. Mirabu accuses him of treating her like a child, while Rika scolds Ishudo for speaking badly to women. Elsie arrives and says the failed delivery case has been handled. Mirabu finally realizes Ishudo is the hero who defeated Surtur. She also notes that his party lacks balance, because both he and Rika focus on offense. She argues that tool warriors provide dependable support without relying on healing magic. Ishudo sees the logic but says he has no intention of adding another member. Mirabu breaks down and admits no party will accept her, preventing her from taking proper quests and placing her adventurer license in danger. If she fails in Arios, Mirabu must return to Verona and its fishy smell. Rika recognizes that she once faced the same lonely despair before meeting Ishudo. Rika begs Ishudo not to treat Mirabu as a stranger and asks him to let her join. Ishudo warns that Rika's friendly fire could strike the vulnerable newcomer. Moved by Rika's determination, Ishudo allows Mirabu into the party. The tool warrior joyfully thanks Rika for giving her another chance. Ishudo sends Rika and Mirabu back to Demon Lord Castle for a bath, then prepares to explain the new recruitment to the guild. Elsie admits Mirabu's previous caseworker gave up because the girl refuses to change jobs. Ishudo informs her that Mirabu has joined his army. 3 caseworkers already clashed with Mirabu, repeatedly recommending another profession, while she remained fixated on being a tool warrior. Ishudo observes that people can each believe themselves right, without either side being purely good or evil, speaking with the perspective of a former ruler. Elsie decides to become Mirabu's new caseworker, allowing the girl to continue adventuring. She jokes that Ishudo now surrounds himself with troublesome people. Elsie admits Ishudo may be the most troublesome of all, yet that makes her want to support him. They shake hands and begin discussing her compensation. When Elsie learns Ishudo and Rika share one room, she worries about interrupting their love nest. Rika loudly rejects the romantic interpretation. Ishudo confirms their party formation and makes the sleeping arrangement clear, while Elsie accepts that the two simply live together under a practical agreement. The new 3-member party will begin quests tomorrow. Ishudo plans to judge Mirabu's combat style, while giving Rika more practical magical training. Before that, Mirabu leads Ishudo and Rika to the Silver Piglet, an inexpensive second-hand equipment shop she strongly recommends. Inside, shopkeeper Zadette warmly welcomes Mirabu and smothers her with affection. Rika realizes the two are close friends despite Mirabu's embarrassed protests. Mizette explains the store rents adventurer gear and immediately recognizes Ishudo as the famous promising rookie, thrilling Mirabu with his reputation. Mizette calls Mirabu fresh yeast and dreams of having adventurers in her shop. She even offers the girl work, though Mirabu remains determined to pursue adventuring. The proprietor loves Mirabu's determination and tells the party to shop at leisure. Ishudo notices their strong friendship while Rika hurries them back to the task. Their quest requires at least 10 lizard gems from the poisonous highly fertile reptilis inhabiting the Saboim wetlands, a place none of them has visited before. The polluted wetlands were once a tourist attraction. With only a 5% gem drop rate, Ishudo calculates they may need to kill around 200 monsters. They have only 3 hours before the deadline, but every gem beyond 10 earns an additional reward. The party accepts and prepares to move quickly. Ishudo views the assignment as an easy chance to test their teamwork, train both companions, and profit at the same time. 3 benefits from one quest. At Saboim, the eerie mud shows no trace of its tourist past. Mirabu confirms the footing is stable enough for them to cross safely. Mirabu moves easily despite carrying most of the supplies, demonstrating her good walker skill and explaining that many members of her family inherit it. Proudly asking whether they now understand a tool warrior's value, Mirabu leads the party deeper into enemy territory. Yet no reptiles appear, so Ishudo questions Rika's plan. Rika explains that 4-element magic changes with the environment. Water should dominate in wetlands, while fire loses strength, leaving the inexperienced mage unsure which attribute to choose. Ishudo orders her to use weakened fire magic instead. Reduced power lowers the risk of friendly fire and gives Rika the precise control training she needs. Mirabu protests being treated as a substitute white mage, but the argument ends when the first reptiles finally emerge from the swamp. Ignoring Ishudo's instructions, Mirabu rushes forward to demonstrate a tool warrior's essence by combining her throw ability with an anti-monster hand grenade. The grenade detonates across the wetlands, blasting the startled reptiles and sending a towering cloud of mud and smoke over the battlefield. Mirabu proudly proves tool warriors can fight on the front line. Although Ishudo and Rika wonder whether the explosion was slightly excessive, Ishudo acknowledges her extraordinary ability, but asks why she remained level 1 for 2 years. The question begins a new lesson about deadly potions and weapons. Mirabu explains she could barely survive, and could not afford even one hand grenade. Her throw skill is already maxed, and can launch anything classified as an item, even legendary weapons. Ishudo tells Rika to restrain her magic instead of fleeing the training. The explosion has attracted many reptiles, giving them enough targets to resume the original plan. He assigns Rika to chant safely behind him, and Mirabu to deploy items as needed. For the first time, the 3 begin resembling a coordinated party. At Ishudo's command, Team Ishudo attacks. He dashes ahead so quickly that Mirabu can barely follow his movement. Ishudo tears through the monsters while Mirabu supports him with explosive items. Once the reptiles gather around him, he signals Rika to fire. Rika releases Fireball, and the deliberately weakened spell sweeps through the clustered monsters without striking her teammates. Even dampened by the wetlands, Rika's fire is stronger than before. She suspects the fruit of Einzel strengthened her, while Mirabu marvels at Ishudo's inhuman physical ability. Ishudo praises Rika's clean hit and asks her to repeat it. Watching their growing coordination, Mirabu believes she can become stronger beside these unusual adventurers. Rika vows to improve, yet Mirabu sensibly keeps her distance because the mage's old friendly fire habit has not vanished completely. Mirabu decides to fulfill the healing role and activates Potion Throw when Ishudo appears tired. even though he has been running non-stop without breaking a sweat. She hurls a potion jar directly at his head. Ishudo dodges the dangerous projectile, leaving Mirabu confused that he avoided her supposed support. Mirabu explains the high-level technique heals from the head downward, but Ishudo points out that smashing glass against an ally's skull may explains why tool warriors are unpopular. His magical coating blocks both physical and magical attacks, making external support ineffective. The protection strengthened further when his lost memories returned during the Searcher battle. Healing spells and support magic do not work on Ishudo, and thrown potions would fail too. He must drink restoration items normally, despite Mirabu praising the speed of her painful method. Ishudo asks Mirabu to stop using potion throw for now. She fears losing her tool warrior identity, because even minor criticism exposes how fragile the profession's reputation has become. Mirabu admits throwing potions is also her favorite way to relieve stress. The splash of liquid and crack of glass thrilled her from the first successful attempt. Ishudo realizes this is partly a personal obsession, but instead of banning it completely, he permits potion throw only during genuine emergencies. 2 hours later, the party has killed roughly 300 Reptilis. Mirabu takes charge of item recovery, another specialty of tool warriors. Since Ishudo spent the entire fight running for Rika's training, she urges him to rest. They still have enough time to collect drops and reach Arios before the deadline. A rented guild pocket watch, valuable as a mansion, keeps them on schedule. Ishudo leaves collection to the girls and takes a brief break. When Rika and Mirabu fail to return promptly, Ishudo follows their trail and calls out, sensing that something has gone wrong. The frightened girls reveal a gigantic Reptilis far beyond the known species. Its size and threat level resemble a monster intended for high-ranked adventurers. The Giganto Reptilis charges, forcing Ishudo and the girls to run, as its massive body tears through the swamp behind them. The monster releases a dense poisonous fog. Ishudo orders everyone to hold their breath, and increases the distance from the cloud. They initially dismiss the gas as a simple bluff, but both Rika and Mirabu admit inhaling some, and their conditions begin deteriorating. Mirabu reveals she threw away the party's supply bag to distract the monster during their escape. Ishudo praises the quick decision instead of blaming her. Embarrassed by Ishudo's direct praise, Mirabu suggests collecting the scattered gems and returning to Arios now that the fog has dissipated. The poison suddenly overwhelms both girls. Ishudo can defeat monsters, but he has no medical ability and desperately asks what happened. Mirabu identifies paralytic venom and poison from the Giganto Reptilis. The monster crushed her discarded bag, destroying the potions she had prepared. Mirabu tells Ishudo to lift her skirt because emergency potions are hidden underneath. Though he thinks she is joking, she insists there isn't time. Only one dose remains, not enough to cure both poison and paralysis. Ishudo believes Mirabu is asking him to choose which life to save, but she rejects that choice. Mirabu begs him to give the entire potion to Rika. Feeling useless after years of failed quests, she decides sacrificing herself is the one honorable act she can still perform. She admits meeting Ishudo and Rika finally made her happy. Though poison burns through her body, Mirabu accepts death if the potion can save her first true party member. Mirabu asks Rika to drink, only to learn that Rika has already taken the potion, and now intends to divide it with her. Ishudo says half a dose will only sadden Rika if Mirabu dies. Ignoring their objections about the 2-hour journey, he prepares to carry both girls back. When Mirabu continues refusing, Ishudo threatens mouth-to-mouth administration. Her fear of losing her first kiss finally makes her accept the remaining medicine. Ishudo promises not to abandon anyone in his army. Carrying both girls, he tells them to grit their teeth before racing toward Arios. His speed becomes almost impossible to comprehend as he crosses the entire route in moments, holding Rika and Mirabu securely, despite the violent acceleration. The girls awaken in the guild infirmary, realizing Ishudo's desperate sprint delivered them to treatment before the venom could kill them. Ishudo checks Mirabu's condition. Paralysis remains, but the doctor administered an antidote, and her hazy memories make her think she slept for days. Only 3 hours have passed since the fight, and Ishudo covered a 2-hour walking distance in roughly 2 minutes. An inhuman feat that saved their lives. Ishudo simply calls himself a demon lord and says their safety matters most. He orders 3 more days of rest and scolds them against repeating such stupidity. Mirabu suddenly remembers the quest. Although the supply bag was lost, she reveals that Tool warriors can store small valuables inside specially designed underwear. Still paralyzed, Mirabu asks Ishudo to retrieve the gems. He refuses to reach into her underwear and insists on finding a nurse, despite her shameless teasing. Elsie walks in at the worst possible moment and mistakes the scene for savagery. She extracts the items instead, allowing the party to complete the quest. After their recovery, Team Ishuto celebrates at Demon Lord Castle. Elsie had visited personally, relieved that an irregular quest did not claim their lives. The guild names the new species Giganto Reptilis and rewards the party for discovering and exterminating it. Their reputation in Arios begins growing. Rika and Mirabu strongly support the name Team Ishudo because his fame provides excellent publicity. Ishudo orders red wine to celebrate their official identity. The group proudly declares themselves Team Ishuto. An older adventurer praises the simple name and jokes that grand words like darkness or world conquest become embarrassing with age. A level 10 summoning warrior named Merida arrives with members of the Imperial Knights, silencing the tavern with her formidable reputation. Ishudo finds Merida less imposing than expected and asks why the Imperial Knights seek him. They explain the visit concerns Surtur's attack. A witness claims Merida summoned Surtur and released it inside Arios. Though the knights doubt a high-ranked adventurer would do such a thing, they must investigate. The knights reveal that, on the night before Surtur's attack, a drunken Merida declared that the royal capital should burn. The tavern owner, a waitress, and several customers all confirm hearing her. Merida admits making the bitter remark after having her heart broken, but insists it was drunken nonsense. More importantly, she has not mastered her job and is only level 10, 5 levels short of summoning Surtur. The knights argue that an elite adventurer could be concealing her true ability. Ignoring Merida's protests, they place the summoning warrior under arrest and order her to answer further questions at headquarters. Ishudo cannot tell whether Merida is innocent, yet the evidence feels far too weak to justify such treatment. Before they drag her away, he decides to test an idea of his own. Stepping between Merida and the Imperial Knights, Ishudo warns that pursuing someone on one drunken remark will only waste their effort and allow the true culprit to escape. He bluntly adds that their careless investigation is a waste of public money. Offended by a young adventurer criticizing them, the knights demand to know his level. When Ishudo calmly answers that he is level 0, they scoff, until someone recognizes him as the rookie who defeated the flame giant Surtur with his bare hands. The chief knight confirms his identity as Ishwald Ashley, but mocks his slender appearance and refuses to believe that such a boy could have crushed the giant. As the knights laugh, Ishudo silently activates one of his Demon Lord abilities, preparing a lesson for those who judged him by appearance alone. The mocking knights suddenly lose their sight and panic. Ishudo's spell takes hold, while the chief watches in confusion, unaffected by the mysterious power. To the hypnotized knights, Ishudo now appears as the current king of Lahar, the person they respect above everyone else. They immediately kneel and address him as His Majesty. The entranced knights swear that their lives belong to their king and beg for orders. Satisfied with their sudden loyalty, Ishudo prepares one suitably ridiculous command. He orders them to return to headquarters while skipping like rabbits, and they obey without hesitation. The bewildered chief asks why she alone can still see reality. Ishudo explains that the spell spared her because she never laughed at him. Admitting their investigation was rushed, the chief withdraws and releases Merida for the time being. After sending her after the others, Ishudo privately regrets using a demon lord's skill for something so trivial. Another display of overwhelming power over an everyday dispute, the tavern erupts in cheers. Adventurers marvel at Ishudo defying the influential Imperial Knights and wonder what unique skill allowed him to control them so effortlessly. Merida sincerely thanks Ishudo for saving her, though he calls it mere interference. She immediately plans another drink, jokes that attacks on her reputation should end after 9 days. Once Merida leaves, Ishudo can only sigh at the chaotic high-ranked adventurer he has just rescued. While the crowded tavern settles down again, Merida reflects that her relationship collapsed because the man already had a fiancée. Determined to move forward, she joins the large-scale quest beginning tomorrow and insists her summoning was never for him. Before Marita can depart, an unfamiliar young woman approaches and politely asks for a private conversation, quietly setting another scheme in motion. The stranger introduces herself as Darsha and presents the round sheep-like doll beside her as Asmodeus. Marita is startled when the supposedly harmless toy speaks aloud. Darsha leads her into a deserted back alley. Realizing too late that this is no ordinary conversation, Marita asks what the woman truly wants. A magical barrier seals the alley and isolates Marita from outside help. Darsha calmly gives Asmodeus an order, addressing her captive by name as the summoning adventurer Marita. Asmodeus lunges at the trapped adventurer, and Darsha coldly declares that Marita now belongs to her. The next morning, Team Ishudo enjoys the Demon Lord Castle Inn's excellent sandwiches and takeout food. Mirabu happily vows to gain experience until she becomes an item master. Mirabu recalls her grandfather's tale of a tool warrior who trained under a knight and became the legendary item master, said to rival even Ross Weissy. Inspired, she longs to meet Eris herself. Outside, the Silver Wolf Knights lead an impressive parade through the capital. Citizens cheer the scouting squad and the many high-ranked adventurers joining its large-scale expedition. Unable to see over the crowd, Mirabu begs Ishudo for a piggyback ride. From his shoulders, she spots Eris at the head of a force, strong enough to handle even a sudden dragon attack. Eris notices Team Ishudo and waves. Nearby admirers immediately argue over whom Ross Weiss greeted, never realizing the gesture was meant for Ishudo and his companions. Elsie joins them in ordinary clothes, surprising Rika and Mirabu. Ishudo admits he has already grown comfortable with an adventurer's easy lifestyle, then asks why so many elite fighters are parading. Elsie explains that Hortensia organized one of the country's periodic large-scale expeditions, gathering only high-ranked adventurers for a major dungeon. Last year's destination was the Shrine of Baldios, where Ishuto appeared. This expedition targets Grakios, the unconquered labyrinth of the witch, inside royal territory. 2 scouting parties failed there before the dungeon was abandoned for 10 years, but Hortensia has now sent a 3rd. Elsie explains that witches create unique dungeons filled with structures and traps, unlike ordinary labyrinths. Grakios is especially dangerous, because every 9 days it reverses and completely rebuilds itself. The more Ishudo hears, the more he wants to explore it. As his case officer, however, Elsie firmly forbids him from challenging a dungeon where adventurers have never passed the 3rd stratum. As Elsie rushes toward the end of the parade, Team Ishudo spots Marita among the expedition members. Without her glasses, with new makeup and a different hairstyle, she looks almost unrecognizable. Rika and Mirabu are amazed by Marita's glamorous transformation. Yet Ishudo senses that the woman before them gives off a completely different impression from the one he met last night. The disguised woman locks eyes with Ishudo and speaks directly into his mind. At last, she has met her one and only demon lord. It is Darsha wearing Marita's appearance. As the expedition marches away, Ishudo remembers that Marita never used telepathy, and that this woman's voice is different. The words demon lord leave him with a powerful sense of danger. 9 days later, the scene shifts inside Grakios, the mysterious riddle-filled labyrinth personally constructed by a witch. The expedition has reached only the 4th stratum, with merely 2 hours remaining before midnight ends the 9th day. Because the dungeon rebuilds itself, old maps offer almost no help. Eris confirms the rear guard has arrived, and nobody has been lost. Though reaching the 4th stratum sets a record, their progress will vanish after the rebuild. Still, they gained treasures and defeated 3 guardians. Gilda gushes over adventuring beside Eris, while Latessa and Lance trade familiar insults. Beneath their banter, everyone knows 9 exhausting days inside the dungeon are about to be erased. They have solved riddles, overcome traps, defeated powerful guardians, and shared a genuine adventure. Now the thought that every trace may disappear, and that they might not escape, darkens the mood. The dungeon's nickname, the Man-Eater, is well deserved. Not one person caught inside during its automatic reconstruction has ever returned alive. They must reach the exit before the time limit. Worse, the 4th stratum is probably not the last. Gilda notes Witches' fixation on the numbers 3, 4, 7, 9, and 12, while the exhausted party faces the possibility of more paths ahead. Because Grakios appeared 30 years ago, the others ask Gilda whether she can identify its creator. She has several incredibly powerful witches in mind, but refuses to present mere theories as fact. Gilda suspects the creator shares another witch's wicked personality. The dungeon blocks both teleportation magic and their pterosaur gemstone, an item that should instantly return them to the entrance. Since spell and item rely on the same principle, the restrictions affects them both. With the rear guard assembled and little time left, Eris orders everyone to proceed carefully and leave no one behind. Their illuminated path opens onto the same circular platform found at the end of every previous floor. The identical design confirms they have finally reached the fourth stratum's end. A colossal creature descends onto the platform as the floor guardian. Its unmistakable shape immediately fills Eris and the veterans with recognition. The guardian is Burgant, the tyrannical stone dragon that once overwhelmed Eris's party. Armed with stronger equipment and allies, she welcomes the long-awaited rematch. Eris draws her sword, declaring that this battle will not end like the last one. She rallies the entire expedition with a single command: move together and leave no one behind. The adventurers charge Burgant as one, determined to defeat the stone dragon and ensure that every member of the expedition returns safely to the royal capital. The story jumps back 2 days. At the inn, Mirabeau furiously complains that the prestigious scouting squad did not include even one tool warrior, despite their value in dangerous exploration. Rika redirects her excitement toward Team Ishudo's next quest, a half-day journey to the scenic Lucas Hills, followed by outdoor camping. They may even meet the expedition on its return. Before leaving, Ishudo asks what Rika knows about Merida. She explains that the capable summoning warrior belongs to no fixed party and usually travels alone, joining groups temporarily when her magic is needed. Summoning warriors possess immense destructive power, but their long incantations and dependence on party support make the job difficult. Despite Merida's skill, heartbreak, scandal, and the Surtur accusation have brought her repeated misfortune. Rika teases that Ishuto looked heroic, rescuing Merida, and smells a romance developing. He dismisses her habit of connecting everything to love and orders everyone to sleep before their early departure. Alone with his thoughts, Ishudo doubts love explains why the supposed Merida called him Demon Lord through telepathy. He resolves to question the real Merida Ebro directly. Back in Grakios, Ares' expedition has finally defeated Burgunt. The dungeon's copy possessed the same appearance and full power as the original stone dragon, making their narrow victory especially costly. The expedition celebrates defeating Burgunt without Ishudo's help, proof that they have grown stronger despite many injuries. Latessa notices that Eris still measures the result against how easily Ishudo might have won. Eris cannot forget the beauty of Ishuto's fighting style. Gilda calls meeting him a valuable catalyst for her growth, but Eris admits she still has a long way to go after a battle that took an hour. Lance tells the overly diligent Eris to celebrate their victory and offers words of appreciation. Although they lack time to explore it, the survivors are thrilled to have reached the fifth stratum's threshold. Since discovering another floor already makes the expedition worthwhile, Eris orders a retreat while time remains. She gives Lance command of the announcement because his voice carries farther than hers. Lance declares the scouting mission complete. They reached the unknown fourth stratum, defeated its guardian, and confirmed a fifth exists. The wounded will evacuate first, using pterosaur gemstones. After most adventurers teleport away, Latessa recounts the group. 96 people reached the fourth stratum, 90 have evacuated, and 5 remain on the platform, meaning 1 person is missing. Eris insists they counted everyone carefully, but Gilda senses a concealed presence. She orders the missing adventurer to stop playing hide-and-seek. A woman steps from the shadows carrying a round familiar. Though she still wears Merida's face, Gilda cautiously addresses her as the summoning warrior Merida Ebro. The imposter admits burning 4 adventurers so badly, they retired immediately after entering the dungeon. She calls it punishment for speaking disrespectfully to someone they had known all their lives. With a single command to release, the woman dispels the elaborate transformation and reveals her true appearance before the stunned expedition. Darsha admits she avoided claiming to know Gilda because perfectly recreating Merida required remaining in character. Her apology only makes the deception more disturbing. Eris feels an ominous pressure from Asmodeus despite its delicate doll-like form. Darsha, meanwhile, greets Gilda as though this dangerous reunion were a social visit. The intruder finally gives her name, Darsha, daughter, and sole apprentice of the great witch Bregan. Darsha repeats her proud lineage, while the expedition absorbs the revelation that Bregan's daughter has infiltrated their mission under Merida's identity. Gilda recognizes Bregan as the owner of the prophecy book she once possessed. Darsha then introduces the speaking doll Asmodeus as her familiar and cheerfully asks whether it is cute. Asmodeus objects to being called a little creature, proving it has a will of its own. Gilda ignores the bickering and demands confirmation that Darsha truly is Bregan's daughter. Gilda believed Bregan had no family, but Darsha mocks that certainty. Even a centuries-old witch who is not a god cannot know everything in such a vast world. Gilda identifies Darsha's staff as the legendary weapon once wielded by the summoning warrior Visorus. Together, the first-class staff and a first-class summoner can call forth almost any summoned beast. That evidence confirms Darsha was the one who summoned Surtur in the royal capital. Darsha praises Gilda's deduction, then dismisses the notion that their mothers were true rivals. Offended by any insult toward Bregan, Darsha bristles. Gilda presses her to explain why she released Surtur and stole Merida's identity to enter the scouting squad. Darsha calls the dungeon expedition merely a side trip and says, Surtur served another objective. Her hint is simple. She refuses to let anyone conquer Grakios, the dungeon her own mother created. Darsha sneers that Bregan overestimated the expedition because it took them so long to reach the fourth stratum. Latessa erupts at the insult, while Gilda confirms the crucial truth. Bregan built Grakios. Darsha taunts Gilda for spending her power protecting Eris, instead of advancing deeper, calling the once promising witch a Beside. Their argument consumes another precious 20 minutes of the reconstruction countdown. Even Darsha would be endangered by the dungeon's reset, but Asmodeus will protect her, so she intends to remain and enter the newly opened fifth stratum. She has no concern for anyone else. As Darsha prepares to leave, Gilda suppresses her many questions and asks only one, is the real Merida still alive? Darsha replies that she did not kill her. Darsha merely collected enough physical data to copy Merida perfectly, then abandoned her for someone lucky to find. In the worst case, the captive summoner will simply die alone. Darsha bids the women farewell, but pauses after Gilda tries to stop her. She admits that her incantation is unfinished, because she deliberately saved its final words. Completing the spell, Darsha summons Cerberus, the enormous watchdog of the underworld, onto the platform between the expedition and escape. Cerberus blocks the survivors while Darsha departs. Worse, their pterosaur gemstones crumble to dust, leaving no instant route out of the dungeon. Gilda remembers too late that Cerberus can prevent opponents from escaping, resists magic, and ignores status effects. With teleportation already sealed and the reset approaching, the party is trapped. Eris refuses to surrender. Thinking of Ishudo, she vows that they still have a chance if everyone keeps fighting. Then the story cuts to Team Ishudo camping at Lucas Hills. Rika and Mirabu drag Ishudo into a lively midnight barbecue, warning that anyone who does not eat will be eaten. The crowded campsite feels more like a festival than a wilderness camp. The gathering was scheduled to welcome the Grakios scouting squad home. Since the dungeon entrance is nearby, Team Ishudo's timing seems perfect for seeing Eris and the others return. Nearly a week has passed since the parade, and the returning adventurers are expected to stay here overnight. Rika notices Ishuto watching for Eris, and he explains that she and her companions repeatedly helped him after his arrival. Ishuto admits that is not the only reason Eris interests him but refuses to elaborate. Their conversation ends when frantic shouts for help erupt from the edge of camp. A group of exhausted adventurers staggers into the campsite. While others call for water, a supervisor orders someone to contact the royal capital immediately. One survivor recognizes Ishudo as the adventurer who helped the Silver Wolf Knights defeat Surtur. Ishudo dislikes being called a hero, but quickly realizes the man brings urgent news. The survivor apologizes and says the guild must be informed at once. Eris and the rest of the Silver Wolf Knights have been left behind inside Grakios. The third scouting squad withdrew but abandoned Eris's group within the dungeon. Midnight has passed, reconstruction has begun, and nobody caught in a reset has ever returned alive. The survivors have split between those determined to attempt a rescue and those who want to assess the danger first. Two brothers raced outside to report the disaster. but others warn that finding the missing group may be impossible. A supervisor brings a communication crystal. By pouring mana into it, the campers can speak instantly with the Adventurers Guild in the royal capital, no matter the distance. Elsie answers the crystal and is shocked to see Ishudo, Rika, and Mirabu. They report that the dungeon has begun rebuilding, while the Silver Wolf Knights remain trapped inside. Unable to decide alone, Elsie prepares to alert the director, only for a visibly drunk Hortensia to interrupt, claiming she has already heard everything. Hortensia jokes that this degree of drunkenness is normal for her, then turns serious. The survivors ran desperately for guidance, but even she struggles to believe this happened while Gilda was present. Speaking as head of the Royal Capital Branch, Hortensia orders the returned scouting personnel to go home by daybreak. The desperate adventurers accuse her of abandoning the Silver Wolf Knights. Hortensia forces them to face reality. After a 7-day expedition, their stamina and mana are exhausted. Re-entering Grakios would not save Eris. It would only create a second disaster. Before the argument can continue, Ishudo steps forward and declares that he will enter Grakios and bring Arius and the others back himself. Ishudo still has ample strength because he only drank and camped instead of joining the expedition. Hortensia realizes an ordinary rescue is nearly impossible, but Ishudo has overturned common sense countless times. Hortensia issues an emergency quest. Team Ishudo requests tents, food, water, a magic crystal lamp, and a pterosaur gemstone, while the camp mobilizes to supply everything immediately. Hortensia admits she cherishes Gilda, Eris, Lance, and Latessa despite her flaws as a director. Abandoning them is not an option, and Ishudo accepts the mission without hesitation. The emergency objective is made official. Team Ishudo must rescue the trapped Silver Wolf Knights. Ishudo gives the answer everyone was waiting to hear. He accepts. With the quest to bring Eris and the others home recorded, Team Ishudo departs for Grakios. The survivors entrust the rescue to them and pray for their safe return. Elsie questions whether Level 3 Rika and Level 1 Mirabu should enter a dungeon requiring top-class adventurers. Hortensia understands the danger, but also understands why they refuse to leave Ishudo. Rika trusts her firepower, Mirabu promises to serve as a tool warrior, and both insist they are members of Team Ishudo. Ishudo's proud happiness at their resolve reveals how deeply he values his partners. Hortensia compares his expression to a man watching younger sisters grow. Though Elsie asks her not to say that aloud, both women agree Ishudo has been blessed with excellent companions. Hortensia begins arranging a special reward while Elsie handles the official report. Together, they place their faith in Team Ishudo's ability to defy the impossible once again. At the dungeon entrance, Team Ishudo finds the expedition survivors still arguing between an immediate rescue faction and those urging caution. Kroll suddenly appears among the crowd without Lance. The holy beast had returned shortly after Ishudo's party left camp, startling everyone with its solitary arrival. Kroll confirms its unique teleportation skill only moves itself. Gilda's group teleportation cannot function because Grakios contains a mechanism even she cannot break. Ishudo realizes Kroll's holy beast ability escaped that restriction, but ordinary items may still work. If Ares' group carried a pterosaur gemstone, however, their failure to return means something else has gone terribly wrong. Therefore, something must have disabled the trapped party's gemstone. With no map of the rebuilt dungeon, Ishudo decides their best guide is Kroll's nose, especially its ability to track Latessa's scent. The exhausted adventurers entrust the fate of the Silver Wolf Knights to the rookie who defeated Surtur. Ishudo promises to handle the rescue and tells everyone he will see them when Team Ishudo returns. Inside the newly rebuilt Grakios, a huge high-ranked monster erupts from the passage, giving Rika and Mirabu their first taste of the dungeon's transformed dangers. One nightmare appears after another, but Ishudo crushes every monster instantly. Rika is shaken by the realization that, without him, this place would be far beyond her ability to survive. Rika panics and prepares an enormous fireball in the cramped stone corridor. Ishudo urgently stops her, warning that even if the flames miss them, the blast could consume their air and suffocate everyone. Earth magic would be equally dangerous because it would magnify the surrounding dust and rock. Applying the lesson from Seiboim wetlands, Rika agrees to restrict herself to lower-impact water and wind spells. The party advances through Grakios' twisting passages while Kroll continually searches for the trail of its missing companions. Ishudo's path becomes a factory of monster corpses. Rika and Mirabu can do little but follow, knowing that creatures he destroys effortlessly could kill either of them with a single glancing blow. For Ishudo, the slaughter is merely exercise that helps digest dinner and clear the alcohol from his head. He is not even breathing hard. While Rika and Mirabu reassure him they can continue, Kroll suddenly catches a familiar scent, most likely Latessa's. The discovery suggests Eris's group is alive, but Ishudo warns that the path ahead will not be easy. Rika and Mirabu refuse to be left behind, promising to follow Ishudo even into hell. Their resolve is immediately tested when Kroll's trail reaches a dead end. Mirabu offers a hand grenade, but Ishudo tells her to preserve it for later. Rather than waste time taking a detour, he asks everyone to step back. Ishudo smashes through the solid wall with his bare hands. He explains that explosives or magic might collapse the ceiling, so brute force is actually the safer route. Following Kroll, Ishudo ignores Grakios's intended paths, breaking walls, punching through floors, and smashing ceilings whenever necessary. His companions slowly realize he is conquering the dungeon by destroying its rules. Rika supports him with water and wind magic, selecting spells that suit the rocky environment. Ishudo does not mind minor friendly fire, and tells her to focus on counterattacks. After smashing through vast amounts of bedrock, they still have not reached Eris. Mirabu carries over half the supplies without complaint, proving how valuable her tool warrior walking skill can be. Ishudo sincerely tells Mirabu she may possess what it takes to become an item master. The unexpected compliment leaves the normally energetic girl completely speechless. When Mirabu blushes, Ishudo tells her to focus on her dream and promises lessons whenever she needs them. His immediate trust strengthens her determination to grow alongside him. Their improvised tunnel finally opens into an impossible space filled with floating ruins and glowing structures. Team Ishudo wonders whether they have reached Grakios's deepest lair. Ishudo identifies the area as another dimension where ordinary physical laws do not apply. Having already drifted through such space before arriving in this world, he remains calm and lets Kroll choose the way. Kroll races into the distorted realm, and the others chase after it. Terrified but determined, Rika compares the choice to eating poison and commits herself completely. Elsewhere, Gilda maintains the gravity spell Gravios Fort against the reconstruction mechanism that invaded their space at midnight. Even her immense magic is beginning to fail. An advancing Eraser is consuming the dimension while Cerberus blocks the exit. Lance prepares to fight at close range, hoping Kroll will bring outside help before Gilda's barrier collapses. Lance unleashes her special move, Sturm on Drang, driving a storm of rapid attacks into all three of Cerberus's heads. All three heads appear destroyed in one brilliant combination. Lance celebrates the perfect strike and proudly turns toward Eris for approval. Eris suddenly screams a warning. Cerberus regenerates almost instantly and counterattacks Lance before she can retreat. The revived beast slams Lance away, proving that destroying its heads in rapid succession was not enough to kill it. Latessa catches the wounded Lance, while Gilda finally remembers Cerberus's precise weakness. All three heads must be destroyed at exactly the same moment, and merely piercing its heart will not work. Eris's attacks cannot meet that condition. Exhausted and unable to coordinate three simultaneous killing blows, she begins to fear that this truly is the end. Eris refuses to accept losing the precious companions she wants to protect, yet her strength fails and she begins to collapse. At the last instant, Ishudo appears and casually catches Eris. After searching through the rebuilt dungeon, he has finally found her. Eris stares in disbelief as Ishudo apologizes for keeping her waiting, his calm arrival shattering the despair that had consumed the group. Seeing how exhausted and wounded she is, Ishudo remarks that Eris has ended up in a dangerous spot. An unusual struggle for someone normally so formidable. Latessa celebrates Ishudo's perfect timing and demands to know how he entered after the rebuild. He begins introducing Skrika as the black mage whose blizzard froze Surtur. Kroll confirms it followed Latessa's scent, while Rika timidly greets the famous adventurers. Mirabu proudly introduces herself as Team Ishudo's promising tool warrior. Rika explains that Ishudo followed Kroll by smashing straight through walls and floors, ignoring the dungeon's layout completely. Even Gilda is impressed by such an absurd rescue method. Ishudo identifies Cerberus as a summoned beast stronger than Surtur, and understands why the gemstones failed. He offers to handle it while the survivors use the tunnel he carved. That escape route is already corroding. Grakios's reconstruction bugs are consuming every passage. While Cerberus continues guarding the group, Gilda can only slow the bugs. They will erase the whole space from every direction. Their remaining chance is to defeat Cerberus and escape with Team Ishudo's Pterosaur gemstone. Ishudo confirms Hortensia prepared everything required for the rescue and tells the women to stand back while he punches Cerberus into submission. Eris immediately stops him. Eris explains that Cerberus can be killed only by destroying all three heads simultaneously with physical attacks. That rules out Letessa's magical rifle and Rika's black magic, while Wounded Lance cannot fight. The remaining key is Mirabu. Ishudo proposes creating a clone of himself, but Mirabu reminds him that no such skill exists and protests that a level 1 tool warrior cannot solve this alone. Ishudo asks her to combine every bomb she carries and throw the bundle into one head's mouth. An internal explosion should work, and he promises to ensure the jaws cannot close. He tells Mirabu, this is the moment her tool warrior ability matters most. Calling her by her job title, Ishudo asks whether she understands that the entire rescue now needs her. Inspired by Ishudo's complete confidence, Mirabu fires herself up. His inspiration skill takes effect, drawing out the young tool warrior's true power for the coming attack. Ishudo assigns roles. He will occupy Cerberus, Mirabu will prepare the bomb, Rika and Letessa will treat Lance, Eris will preserve her strength, and Gilda must hold back the erasure a little longer. Ishudo walks directly toward the underworld watchdog, casually taunting Cerberus, as though beginning an ordinary sparring match. Cerberus attacks with overwhelming force, but Ishudo meets every strike head-on and mocks the beast for claiming it could send him to the underworld. Twisting aside Cerberus's assault, Ishudo reveals why the threat means nothing. He is the demon lord Ishwald Ashley, a ruler far beyond the creature before him. Declaring himself above the master of hell, Ishudo unleashes a crushing counterattack that overwhelms Cerberus and creates the opening his companions need. Mirabu combines 3 individually powerful bombs into one terrifying charge. Ishudo's trust has erased her fear, leaving her certain that she can accomplish the impossible, and the weapon is ready. While waiting, Mirabu properly introduces herself to Eris as Team Ishudo's tool warrior. She nearly panics at speaking to her idol, but Eris warmly tells her to use the simpler name Eris. Despite completing the bomb, Mirabu fears she cannot match the timing of 2 elite fighters. Eris tells her to ignore everything else and concentrate only on throwing accurately. Eris promises to strike one head at the exact moment the bomb lands, while Ishudo handles the third. Reassured by the high-ranked knight, Mirabu steadies herself and focuses on the target. Ishudo has already broken one head's jaw and damaged Cerberus's organs, making the throw easier even though its regeneration continues. The others can only marvel at his brutal preparation. With the right head unable to close its mouth, Eris assigns Ishudo the center head and takes the remaining one herself. All 3 attackers are finally ready. Mirabu charges forward and hurls the bundled explosives straight towards Cerberus's open jaws while Ishudo and Eris move into position. As the bomb enters its target, Ishudo commands Eris to strike. She launches her attack at the exact instant required. 3 simultaneous impacts erupt across Cerberus's heads, followed by a massive explosion. Mirabu and the others celebrate. Their synchronized attack worked. Mirabu proudly explains that the bomb landed perfectly, and the group cheers their apparent victory. Ishudo and Eris remain wary, however, because both sense that something is wrong. The smoke clears to reveal Cerberus regenerating once again. Although everyone struck together, the beast survived, and the failed timing leaves Mirabu devastated. Eris asks how Mirabu triggered the bomb. The tool warrior explains that the mechanism was mostly mechanical, but one essential component relied on magic. That magical component caused the dungeon to classify the explosion incorrectly, so it did not count as a purely physical attack. Mirabu apologizes through tears as Cerberus rises again. Ishudo comforts Mirabu and accepts responsibility for overlooking the detail. With Gilda's spell nearing its limit and neither Ishudo nor Eris able to destroy 3 heads alone, they urgently need a new plan. Mirabu notices Lance's legendary weapon, the Dragon Lance Echolote. If they can land its special attack on Cerberus, The resulting power may exceed the bomb's. Ecalote is so heavy that even trained Imperial Knights can barely lift it. Only Lance's superhuman strength can wield it normally. Mirabu remembers that her job ability ignores an item's weight when she throws it. Ishudo reminds Mirabu of her boast that she could throw even a legendary weapon. Eris is stunned by the proposal, but Ishudo asks the tool warrior whether she can truly wield Ecalote. Mirabu declares that weapons are still items, so weight means nothing to her throwing skill. Refusing to be intimidated, she grips the legendary lance and prepares to prove herself. Mirabu successfully lifts Ecalote, drawing cheers from the entire party. With Cerberus regenerating and the erased space expanding, this becomes their final chance to finish the beast. The rescuers begin their second coordinated attack, placing their hopes on Mirabu and the legendary lance. Mirabu hurls Ecalote with astonishing control, even altering its speed in flight. Eris recognizes that the tool warrior's throwing ability offers precisely the timing they lacked. As the lance reaches Cerberus, Ishudo and Eris launch their own blows in parallel. This time all three attacks are perfectly synchronized for the kill. Ecalote pierces one head while Ishudo and Eris smash the other two, tearing through Cerberus with three purely physical strikes at the same instant. The combined assault obliterates all three heads before regeneration can begin, and the underworld watchdog finally collapses. Standing over the defeated beast, Ishudo turns Cerberus's earlier threat back against it. Today, the watchdog itself will be the one sent to the underworld. Deep within Grakios, a hidden mechanism welcomes Darsha as both the fastest and the first person ever to reach the core of the Man-Eater dungeon. Darsha discovers the precious object Brigand left behind, only to find an ordinary crying doll with no grand magical aura. Its humble appearance confuses even her. The dungeon confirms that the doll is Brigand's legacy, and gives Darsha authority over Grakios. Because she cleared the labyrinth, she may either keep the dungeon open or seal it forever. Darsha chooses to preserve Grakios' purpose as the Man-Eater dungeon. Her detour finished, she turns her attention to learning more about the demon, Lord of Terror, described in Brigand's prophecy book. Far away, Gilda suddenly senses that someone is talking about her. That Darsha has claimed Brigand's legacy and begun pursuing the prophecy's demon lord. After the successful rescue, stories of Ishudo's heroism spread through the capital. Witnesses describe the earth-shaking return of the Silver Wolf Knights. While Ishudo desperately asks everyone to stop calling him a hero, Rika leads Ishudo to the city's most famous meeting spot, now crowded with people discussing the rescue. Confused about whom they are meeting, he receives an envelope addressed to him. The envelope contains Hortensia's promised reward. Rika also reports that Lance is recovering well, and the other rescued adventurers are safe thanks to Ishudo. Expecting a meal voucher, Ishudo instead reads the shocking reward, a one-day date voucher, personally arranged by the director. The voucher specifies his partner, Heiress Frau Lisselvine of the Silver Wolf Knights. Irritated by the guild's stingy budget at first, Ishudo now realizes Hortensia chose something far more personal. Rika, Mirabu, and Latessa hide nearby to watch, thrilled by the prospect of romance. Ishudo waits amid the noisy crowd, wondering why the date could not simply begin at their shared inn. Alone at the meeting point, Ishudo scans the crowd and feels unusually anxious. It's while his companions struggle to keep their observation party hidden. The spying girls congratulate themselves for avoiding detection, then speculate about how many levels Rika and Mirabu gained from surviving Grakios. Mirabu has jumped to level 3, while Rika reached level 4. Mirabu admits that throwing Ecalote left her entire body so sore she could barely leave bed. They eagerly check the rescue leader's progress, only to discover Ishudo remains level 0. Even Gilda could not explain why experience never changes his level. Eris arrives in a beautifully coordinated outfit and apologizes for the wait. Ishudo and Eris become so focused on each other that they barely notice the crowd or their hidden audience. The observers delight in seeing Ishudo genuinely shy around a properly dressed woman. Eris's refined appearance affects him far more than sharing a bath ever did. When Eris asks where they should go, Ishudo admits he planned nothing. She hesitates, remembering a piece of dating advice Latessa gave her. Latessa told Eris that a proper date requires holding hands. With visible embarrassment, Eris asks whether Ishudo is willing to do it. Ishudo agrees, then privately panics over their apparent age difference. His mind is 30, while Eris's guild file lists her as 78. Their awkward, innocent hand-holding delights the hidden spectators. Though Rika cannot decide whether the age situation makes the romance sweet or complicated, the pair visits clothing shops and general stores, eats lunch while browsing plaza stalls, gets lost, and wanders into a park filled with couples, an unexpectedly ordinary date. Eris is happy to share another crepe with Ishudo, and he enjoys it too. When he asks where she wants to go next, she struggles to name her true destination. Ishudo guesses she wants a weapon or armor shop. Eris admits Latessa warned that visiting one would be improper, because today she should act as a woman, not an adventurer. Ishudo assures Eris he would never criticize someone's hobbies. When he asks her to come with him, she gladly chooses the weapon shop. They arrive at the victory song of the god of war. The staff immediately mistakes their coordinated outfits and hand-holding for proof that they have become lovers. The shopkeeper explains that Eris's holy sword Misselton needs more time to repair. Since the Silver Wolf Knights will not quest until Lance recovers, Eris accepts the delay. The shop also congratulates Ishudo on becoming famous for rescuing the knights without a weapon. He rejects the hero title and returns to the subject of the sword he once forged. Research has identified the people best able to work demon iron ore. Gnomes, a fairy race renowned as exceptional blacksmiths. Mana-responsive weapons such as the East Scimitar are classified as magic swords. A gnome smith could forge one even Ishudo can wield. But the gnome village is reportedly in serious decline. Young gnomes are abandoning traditional smithing for quicker wealth in large cities, leaving virtually no active craftsmen. Though the shop cannot arrange a commission, Ishudo values the information. Before they leave, Eris remembers an important matter she has not fully explained. The witch Darsha was responsible for the recent disasters. Darsha impersonated Merida to infiltrate Gracias, and then summoned Cerberus. Fortunately, the real Merida was found alive, though weakened and missing portions of her memory. The Knights and Guild continue searching for Darsha, while Gilda investigates Bregan in the Royal Library. Darsha's claim to be Bregan's daughter seems impossible, but Gilda believes there is more to the story. Records reveal almost nothing about Bregan beyond calling her a mischief-making witch who supposedly died. Ishudo considers questioning Gilda, until a crash from the nearby Dragon God's scale shop interrupts him. Ishudo and Eris rush inside and find the shopkeeper Daman being handled by a stern young woman. Daman is astonished by Eris's elegant appearance and almost fails to recognize her. Ishudo tells the woman to release Daman, calling the rough treatment inappropriate. She recognizes Ishudo immediately as the rookie connected to the shop's broken sword. Daman confirms the accusation, pointing Ishudo out as the adventurer who broke the weapon, now lying shattered across the workbench. Eris tries to explain that the accident was not entirely Ishudo's fault, but he accepts responsibility. Expecting retaliation, Ishudo asks whether the woman wants a duel and warns that he is strong. Instead, the young woman formally introduces herself as Sigyn Orvinger, a gnome who has come seeking Ishudo the adventurer. Sigyn takes Ishudo's hand and states her request with startling simplicity. She wants him to marry her. When Ishudo asks whether she means he should become her husband, Sigyn reverses the wording and asks if he would prefer becoming her wife, leaving him utterly confused. Eris, Doman, and the hidden observers explode in shock. Ishudo went on a date with Eris only to receive a marriage proposal from a stranger before the day even ended. The spectators eagerly anticipate a romantic showdown, but Ishudo refuses. He cannot marry someone when all he knows about her is her name, and he cannot understand why she chose him. The group questions whether this is a gnome custom, but Sigyn is unusually tall. She explains that her mother carried giant blood, accounting for her human-like height and appearance. Sigyn insists on testing Ishudo's suitability for marriage and grabs his hand in public. Embarrassed by the attention, Eris urges them to stop before the entire street notices. The test becomes an arm wrestling match. Ishudo uses only a tenth of his strength, yet Sigyn withstands it and earns his respect for her extraordinary power. Sigyn refuses to let anything overpower her dream of smithing. Ishudo acknowledges her endurance and increases his effort by the smallest possible amount. Their locked hands drive enough force through the table to crack the floor. Neither will concede, and observers fear either the building or Sigyn's body will break first. Outside, two customers hurry away while a younger companion worries that his drunken brother will squander all their money. Their departure has nothing to do with Ishudo until the contest noise reaches them. A violent crash from the shop sends the customers fleeing for good. Daman realizes the bizarre arm wrestling match has once again driven business away. Daman furiously throws Ishudo and Sigin out for ruining his shop and scaring customers. Their test ends without a proper conclusion, though Ishudo is still ready to continue. Back on the street, Ishuto apologizes to Eris for neglecting their date. Daman has a fair point, and Latessa's hidden group complains that he should consider Eris's feelings. Eris says she used the interruption to observe Sigin. The massive warhammer beside the young woman is clearly not a toy. Sigin identifies it as Mjolnir, a gnomish artifact crafted 3 centuries ago and handed down through her warrior family. Yet her true passion has always been forging metal, weapons, and armor. Sigin wants to become a blacksmith capable of creating a masterpiece equal to Mjolnir. She left a village now almost entirely without smiths to pursue that dream. Her family's blessing allowed her to study alone, but she eventually needed a master. Like many ambitious young adventurers, she traveled to Arios searching for instruction. Eris asks how any of this explains the sudden marriage proposal. Sigyn reveals the initial catalyst, a sword she forged entirely by herself before leaving home. The weapon was a prototype numbered 0, following a gnomish custom of naming model 0 after the creator. Sigyn engraved it as the Sigyn sword. Although the prototype impressed the others, Sigyn calls herself too inexperienced to engrave her name properly. Without a workshop or teacher, she has been unable to advance her craft. A giant-blooded applicant could qualify through a practical examination, so the guild certified Sigyn as an adventurer. She has spent 6 months earning a living while seeking a place to learn smithing. Every workshop rejected her because they would not employ a gnome woman. The prejudice deeply hurt Sigyn, yet she proudly refused to deny her tribe. Ishudo gives the hungry Sigyn his cake and recognizes how little she owns beyond Mjolnir. He gently asks whether she has any allies supporting her in the capital. Sigyn admits she is still level 3 and works better alone. After only 6 months as a solo adventurer, however, reaching that level shows remarkable ability. Mjolnir lets her defeat stronger monsters by herself, but its broad, destructive attacks produce little profit. Food and lodging consume her earnings, and some days she can barely afford either. 2 months ago, a starving and unfocused Sigyn lost her prototype sword somewhere after a quest. Today she finally rediscovered it at the Dragon God's scale, only to find it broken. Sigyn jumps from finding the sword to wanting to marry Ishuto. When everyone challenges that leap, she explains that a century-old fortune teller read her future before she left the village. The prophecy said the person who broke the Sigyn sword in 2 would be destined as her husband. Ishudo points out the blade shattered into more than 2 pieces, but Sigyn considers the omen fulfilled. Sigyn declares that destiny leaves her no choice but marriage. Ishuto still refuses, while the observers note that the gnome's stubbornness may rival any blacksmith alive. Because the ancient gnome line and its techniques are vanishing, Sigyn may be the sole hope of both herself and her village. Ishudo asks whether gnome smiths alone can forge demon iron ore. Sigyn confirms only a gnome with total command of the craft is considered a master capable of shaping demon iron. Ishudo asks whether she could forge his weapon if he obtained the ore. Despite reading every document and handling demon iron before, Sigyn honestly admits she is still too inexperienced and lacks a workshop. Ishudo quietly considers what that means. Ishudo reveals his own goal, forging the strongest spellblade ever made. Addressing Sigyn as daughter of gnome and giant, he calls her to join that ambition. He officially recruits Sigyn into Team Ishudo, shelving the marriage question. Without training and support, her dream will remain unreachable, but his team can change that. Sigyn has only hunted monsters since reaching the capital, never once holding a smithing hammer. Ishudo promises to arrange training as soon as possible, making his offer far more meaningful than marriage. Moved by his words, Sigyn accepts and joins Team Ishudo. The others celebrate another powerful-looking member, then ask what job is listed on her adventurer record. Sigyn can barely read Laharian and has apparently misplaced her identification before. When the group finally examines it, the job listed is the exceptionally rare berserker. Her record contains an even greater surprise. Despite her imposing height and strength, Sigyn is only 10 years old. The mixture of gnome and giant blood makes her look far older, but gnomes consider adulthood to begin at 12. Ishudo is horrified that a 10-year-old just proposed marriage. Sigyn asks whether Eris is Ishudo's lover. He says no, and introduces Eris as his guardian, a fellow resident of the inn, and a comrade who has fought beside him many times. Sigyn accepts that they are comrades, though Eris is uneasy. Even she has never personally met a berserker, because the job is extraordinarily rare. Eris explains that race, age, and gender do not matter. Only people born with a mysterious special skill can ever become berserkers, and nobody fully understands how it is obtained. Curious about the rare power, Eris asks Sigyn to demonstrate the berserker skill in action. Sigyn agrees, and the two women move into the street to test her ability in a real sparring match. Onlookers compare the fighters as they prepare. Eris is level 12, while Sigyn is only level 3, making the apparent mismatch enormous. Once Berserker activates, however, Sigyn's effective combat level should become 13. Eris abandons the idea of acting like an ordinary woman and embraces the serious fight. Sigyn swings Mjolnir with enough force to shatter the stone beneath them, demonstrating the devastating raw power hidden in her small frame. The hidden spectators mistake the duel for two women fighting over Ishudo. Beneath their excitement, they notice Sigyn is moving like an advanced adventurer, not a normal level 3 rookie. Even so, Eris remains completely composed, evading and redirecting Mjolnir's attacks without appearing to struggle. Sigyn decides she only needs one clean, direct hit. Eris notices the change and accepts the challenge. Eris deliberately stands her ground, inviting Sigyn to attack straight on and promising to block the blow. When Mjolnir comes down, Eris redirects it and warns that Sigyn relies far too heavily on her weapon. In a contest of pure power, technique still matters. Eris turns Sigyn's momentum against her, disarms the young berserker, and throws her to the ground as Mjolnir crashes harmlessly aside. The crowd applauds Eris's decisive victory. The spectators celebrate a spectacular match, and are relieved that neither fighter was seriously injured. Eris asks why Sigyn never entered a berserk state despite supposedly wanting to win. Sigyn's disappointed expression makes clear that the fight did not satisfy her expectations. Sigyn explains that activating Berserker is not simple. Some inner switch must be flipped first. Eris begins investigating what could trigger that change. Sigyn cannot clearly identify the switch, but remembers one previous incident before leaving home. She was eagerly awaiting roast griffon at a village festival. Her mother ate the entire rare dish, and Sigyn became so furious that she instantly went berserk. Eris concludes the skill may activate when someone steals something Sigyn desperately wants. To test the theory, Eris boldly takes Ishudo by the arm and tells Sigyn she will simply steal him away. The hidden audience goes wild over Eris's aggressive move, while Ishudo is dragged along without understanding why a combat experiment suddenly resembles a romantic declaration. Sigyn freezes, repeating the words "my husband," as anger and jealousy build beneath her stunned expression. The trigger succeeds. Sigyn's berserker state fully activates, raising her effective power to level 13 as she fixes her attention on Eris. In a cold, mechanical voice, the transformed Sigyn identifies Eris as a target to be terminated. Sigyn charges after them while Ishudo pulls Eris away. Rika and Mirabu race after the spectacle, far more excited than worried. Ishudo asks whether such behavior is normal for berserkers. Eris answers that, based on everything she knows, this terrifying fixation is unique to Sigyn. Sigyn tears through the shopping district like a loose monster, smashing every obstacle between herself and Eris. The berserker skill has placed her in a trance where nothing in her path is spared. Despite her fury, Sigyn still makes brutally logical decisions, breaking straight through buildings rather than wasting time going around them. The growing property damage makes Eris's experiment look increasingly disastrous. Eris is deliberately leading Sigyn toward a wide, empty area where they can settle the fight without injuring bystanders. Ishudo follows, ready to intervene if necessary. Sigyn closes the distance with frightening speed. Eris warns Ishudo to retreat as the berserker launches her next attack. Mjolnir and Eris's borrowed weapon collide repeatedly, their impacts ringing across the open square. As the two advanced-level fighters begin a genuine duel, Sigyn calls the battle fun and asks to continue. Eris admits the young fighter has become much stronger, then prepares to raise the pace. Eris realizes Berserker has placed Sigyn slightly above her own level. Without her holy sword Misselton, even Ross Weisse cannot treat the exchange casually. The watching crowd marvels at a true high-level battle. Ishudo worries that if he merely stands back, the surrounding town may soon be destroyed. Yet stepping in carelessly could injure either woman. Because Ishudo cannot easily gauge how little force to use, even a restrained intervention carries serious risk. Before the duel escalates further, Latessa arrives just in time and lands a carefully aimed tranquilizing shot. Latessa scolds Eris and Sigyn for ignoring the ruined town around them, then admits she and the others secretly followed the entire date. Both combatants can only apologize. The custom sleeping drug knocks Sigyn unconscious and should keep her down for 3 hours. Latessa receives praise for ending the rampage, while Ishudo prepares to report the enormous mess. Sigyn unexpectedly begins waking despite the powerful sedative. Impressed by her constitution, the group agrees they must contact the guild before anything else. Hortensia laughs, until her sides hurt, after hearing that Eris destroyed much of a shopping center simply because she wanted to fight a berserker. The shopping center's owner has already demanded repairs and compensation from the guild. The negotiated total comes to 2 million lions, and Ishudo's relief at smooth negotiations is badly misplaced. Hortensia will pay the bill immediately, but expects full reimbursement. Since nobody was injured, she waives interest and divides the debt equally. 1 million lions each for Eris and Sigyn. Eris accepts that repayment will take considerable work and leaves to handle her responsibilities. Sigyn remains behind, crushed by the debt she created before officially joining the team. As Ishudo approaches the party registration counter, Sigyn turns away and says she no longer wishes to join Team Ishudo, believing she has already caused too much trouble. Ishudo gently pats her head and asks whether she has abandoned the dream of becoming a blacksmith. Before Sigyn can withdraw, he tells her to listen carefully. Ishudo refuses to break his promise. 1 million lion debt does not change that Sigyn is under his command and care. By combining their strength, Team Ishudo can repay it without delay. To show Sigyn how the team endures hardship, Ishudo presents Mirabu as a penniless tool warrior who once tried to join after a failed quest. Mirabu loudly objects to his humiliating description. Ishudo insists he is only stating facts and jokes that Mirabu's reputation cannot fall any lower. His real lesson for Sigyn is that pursuing a dream requires the courage to be greedy. If Sigyn wants to use Team Ishudo to achieve her ambition, she must stand tall and ask for more. She accepts the challenge and commits herself to building a path toward blacksmithing. Ishudo promises that one day Sigyn will forge the greatest spellblade, binding her dream to the team's future. The team must register Sigyn, find a quest, seek blacksmith training, and create a debt repayment plan. Rika teases that romance is brewing, but Ishudo silences her and focuses everyone on practical work. That night, Ishudo holds a lively celebration at the Demon Lord Castle Inn to welcome Sigyn officially into Team Ishudo. The next morning, Ishudo wakes with a pounding head and discovers the sleeping Sigyn sprawled across him, both still dressed after the previous night's festivities. Unable to sit up, Ishudo panics over what might have happened with a 10-year-old. His missing memories make the innocent scene look terrifyingly suspicious. Around them, Rika mutters about rejecting the nickname Friendly Fire, while Mirabu sleepily vows to become an item master. Their scattered words finally trigger Ishudo's memory. The team drank and celebrated until everyone grew drowsy, pushed the beds together for space, and fell asleep before bathing. Nothing improper happened, and Eris wakes the well-oiled machine for a badly needed wash. During the bath, Mirabu suffers renewed despair over Rika's figure just as she had begun recovering from earlier comparisons. The other girls tease her for entering a contest she cannot win. Sigyn admires Rika's narrow waist and powerful curves, leaving Mirabu even more defeated. Rika reminds them that another woman's beauty is not a reason for misery. Although Sigyn looks mature, her speech and behavior confirm she is emotionally and intellectually 10. Ishudo feels as though he has accepted an unexpected child-rearing side quest. Eris advises everyone to remember Sigyn's true age when dealing with her. At the Adventurers Guild, Team Ishudo begins planning how to quest seriously and repay the debt. Ishudo assigns Sigyn to the vanguard beside him because she wields a warhammer and specializes in close combat. He also orders her to avoid going berserk without permission. The famous rookie attracts constant stares as he reviews Sigyn's smithing dream. She has not trained yet, and every well-known workshop rejected her apprenticeship applications. Because a naive 10-year-old who still struggles with Laharian may not know smaller workshops, they decide to ask Elsie. Meanwhile, the team will take steady quests to earn the required 1,000,000 lions. While questing, they will search for proper blacksmith training, improve Mirabu's tool warrior skills, strengthen Rika, and prevent friendly fire. There are no shortcuts, but everyone accepts the work ahead. Team Ishudo visits a posted client on behalf of the guild and asks for Urim. A young resident answers and prepares to lead them inside the workshop. The client explains that the small, cluttered building is her workshop and warns Sigyn not to touch anything, because her grandfather would be furious. Sigyn finds the smithing tools strangely familiar. The client mentions that her grandfather traveled the world in his youth, possibly visiting a workshop like Sigyn's home. She specifically remembers hearing that he once visited the gnome village, famous for smithing. Sigyn is stunned, because no outsider was supposed to have entered it. The journey happened roughly 50 years ago, far before 10-year-old Sigyn was born. Ishuto explains her real age to prevent the client from mistaking her imposing appearance for adulthood. The client is 40, making her physically comparable in age to Sigyn by their race's standards. She is fascinated to meet a half-gnome, half-giant after only hearing stories of petite gnomes. The workshop's familiar layout now makes sense. Its master, Damned, must have learned smithing directly from the gnomes. Sigyn immediately wants to find and meet him. The client has a request connected to Damned, her only remaining family. Ishudo accepts the lead, and Team Ishudo agrees to take the job. Urim asks them to find her grandfather. Damned is a 70-year-old mid-ranked adventurer who normally returns within a day, but he has spent 8 days alone on monster-infested Kaol Mountain. Damned is believed to be searching for the legendary ancient dragon's den. Urim correctly contacted the guild instead of a vigilante group, though she is not fully certain that is his destination. Damned once boasted that bringing alcohol to his ancient dragon friend would earn him a share of iron ore. Kaol Mountain was historically rich in both ordinary and demon iron ore. According to legend, miners broke into a vast cavern guarded by an intelligent dragon. The creature demanded that no mining continue beyond that point, and the people sealed a pact to show respect. The established facts are simpler. Kaol truly had deep veins. Mining went far into the mountain, and the entrance was eventually sealed. The dragon may be real, or the ore may simply have run out. Urim noticed Damned never bought iron despite running a smithy. His frequent requests to process ore at a smelting forge suggest he obtained raw material somewhere else. The contradiction makes the absurd legend plausible. Damned may bring a cask to the dragon and receive ore in return. This time, he carried an entire barrel up the mountain. To solve the mystery and rescue him, they must hear the truth from Damned himself. His ties to the mountain, mines, and drinking companion give Team Ishudo a concrete trail to follow. The mission may also let Sigyn ask Damned for an apprenticeship, though he is famously stubborn and refuses students. With Urim's support, they set out on the 3-hour walk to Kaol Mountain. A traveler warns that Kaol is suddenly crawling with undead, according to a party that returned an hour ago. The guild has not confirmed the report, but Team Ishuto cannot ignore it. Their purchased supplies did not account for undead. Such monsters usually require a white mage, priest, or holy water to purify their spirits and stop them permanently. Ishudo is personally repulsed by the idea of buying holy water, and claims he could proceed without it. The others insist they should prepare carefully, because none has fought undead before. They unexpectedly meet Eris, and explain the worsening situation. Her experience may be the timely help Team Ishuto needs before entering the mountain. Eris apologizes for the Berserker experiment, and the debt it placed on 10-year-old Sigyn. She admits her eagerness to see the rare job in action allowed the situation to become dangerously serious. Sigyn barely remembers the battle, but clearly understands that she caused much of the destruction. Eris reminds her that the responsibility and the debt was shared, while Sigyn was acting under the skill's influence. Sigyn accepts the apology, but warns Eris not to steal her husband again. With the matter settled, Ishudo notices the exhausted Gilda accompanying Eris. Eris explains that Gilda researched Brigand in the royal library, until she stopped eating and sleeping. The royal guard finally asked Eris to retrieve the witch when she reached her physical limit. Gilda is eager to question Team Ishudo about Bregan, but the urgent missing person quest comes first. She has visited Kaol Mountain many times, and asks for details about the vanished blacksmith. When they mention the sudden undead infestation, Gilda agrees something serious is happening. Holy water is expensive, and without it everyone except Ishudo may be in danger. Eris volunteers to join because she can fight undead without holy water. Though Mistleton remains under repair, she carries the usable treasure blade Graham as an offhand replacement. Gilda insists on accompanying them as a guide despite her exhaustion. Eris objects, but the stubborn witch refuses to ignore either the strange undead or a missing person. Eris asks Gilda to teleport the party directly to the Kaol trailhead. Gilda is physically exhausted rather than magically drained, so she reluctantly agrees to one more spell. The destination is the sacred Kaol's Mountain, legendary for an endless vein of valuable ore hidden within its ancient depths. Calling upon Lumiere's, god of light and enlightenment, Gilda casts teleportation magic to deliver Team Ishudo and Eris to the foot of Kaol. The spell succeeds, transporting the entire party instantly. Gilda completes the difficult transfer despite her worn condition. Only afterward does Gilda feel she has forgotten something critical about Kaol. Too exhausted to remember, she orders Kroll to take her straight home without detours. Rika, Mirabu, and Sigyn are amazed by their first teleportation. In a single strange sensation, the party has crossed the distance and arrived at the mountain. Eris identifies the 1,000-year-old ruins of Kaol's former mining town. Though Ishudo wants to inspect them, the missing blacksmith leaves no time for sightseeing. They will search the normal trail for damned's belongings. With the sealed mine located 1/3 up the mountain, Eris suspects the mine's closure may somehow connect to his disappearance. The area should swarm with level 5 monsters, yet none appears. The others admit Ishudo's presence made them expect the route to be strangely quiet. Eris recalls the same phenomenon in Alna Forest. Intelligent monsters sense Ishudo's overwhelming power and avoid him. That intimidation is convenient during a rescue, though lesser creatures may still attack. A swarm of Kaol vamps, small, blood-sucking monsters native to the mountain, suddenly dives straight onto Rika and begins draining her. The creatures love elven blood and concentrate entirely on the half-elf. Because their many fangs are embedded in her skin, careless attacks or forced removal could tear Rika apart. Rika screams that she cannot endure any more blood loss. Her body swells with uncontrolled magic, and Ishudo realizes she is about to explode. Rika detonates a blazing inferno around herself. The others fear she cannot survive being trapped inside such flames. The fire dies down, revealing Rika standing unharmed, while the vamps have been completely incinerated. Rika used the fire attribute defensive spell Elemental Guard. Unlike ordinary barriers, it burns any enemy that makes contact, making it perfectly suited to bloodsuckers clinging to her. Elemental Guard normally requires a level 8 black mage, yet level 4 Rika cast it without an incantation. Her explosive talent amazes the party, even if spectacular spells are becoming normal for her. Eris tells Rika to keep the barrier active until the second checkpoint, beyond the vamp's habitat. Mirabu must maintain Rika's mana with potions while the group advances. The vamps continue flying into Rika's flames like literal moths. Beyond the second checkpoint, Ishudo and Eris dispatch a flood of stronger monsters and quickly reach the mine entrance. The mine is sealed by extremely powerful magic that even Eris would struggle to undo. Rumors mention a secret passage, and Damned's lifelong knowledge of the mountain may have led him to it. Before they can search, Ishudo and Eris realize the party is surrounded. Even Mirabu is startled that enemies approach so closely without detection. A horde of genuine undead finally emerges from the forest, confirming the alarming rumor about Kaol. Ishudo orders the vanguard to break their ranks before making a temporary withdrawal. Sigyn eagerly takes her assigned place on the front line. Team Ishudo charges, beginning its first coordinated battle with the newly recruited Berserker. Sigyn swings Mjolnir through the skeletal attackers while Ishudo and Eris cut apart the creatures pressing from both sides. Because more undead close in the longer the fight continues, Ishudo orders them to disrupt the densest cluster first and create spaces. Eris warns that a level 3 fighter may be unsuited for a level 5 region. Sigyn ignores the concern and keeps fighting, determined to fulfill her vanguard role. Ishudo tells Sigyn to withdraw and protect Rika and Mirabu, but an undead attacker strikes from behind before the formation can shift. At Ishudo's command, Sigyn swings Mjolnir with all her strength and smashes the undead warrior apart. Instead of regenerating, the shattered undead dissolves completely. The party realizes Sigyn's blow somehow purified it. Eris remembers that Mjolnir was forged from mithril, a holy silver capable of purifying undead. Sigyn's legendary hammer is the alternative to holy water they needed. Ishudo changes the plan. Everyone else will knock enemies down, then Sigyn will deliver the finishing blows. She confidently accepts the crucial role. After witnessing Mjolnir erase one of them, a surviving undead turns and runs. Ishudo lets it escape, recognizing an opportunity to follow it. The battle has turned into easy cleanup, but Ishudo deliberately spared one enemy. Since the abnormal volume of undead may connect to Damned's disappearance, the fleeing creature could lead them to the source. Team Ishudo quietly trails the surprisingly slow undead as it follows a specific route through the mountain forest. The creature suddenly vanishes into a solid rock wall. Rika thinks it was swallowed by stone, but Ishudo recognizes the hidden entrance they were seeking. Ishudo passes through and confirms the wall is an advanced illusion, possibly ancient magic. Though Eris cannot identify the spell, the secret passage itself is safe. Beyond the illusion lies a deep vertical pit, and the undead below has apparently failed its landing. Eris jumps first and promises to wait at the bottom, while Ishudo helps the team descend. Ishudo carries Sigyn on his back and tells her not to restrain her grip, ensuring she cannot fall during the drop. Sigyn clings tightly enough to make Eris question Ishudo's etiquette with women. He ignores the teasing and leads the party safely into the shaft. The depths are far darker than expected, so Mirabu produces magical lanterns and lights the way for everyone. The hidden mine appears perfectly preserved after 1,000 years, with multiple paths branching ahead. Before they can choose, more enemies approach. The party's improved coordination lets them defeat the undead quickly, each member clearing attackers without breaking formation. Even a skilled mid-ranked adventurer like Damned could not easily survive these numbers alone. Pressed for time, Ishudo asks Rika whether her senses can determine where he went. Rika detects a horde to the left, while a chaotic and difficult-to-describe presence waits beyond them. Her half-elf hearing confirms the route despite her inability to identify the source. The strange presence may be creating the undead. Ishudo, acting only as support today, leaves the decision to Team Ishudo's leader, and chooses to investigate Rika's lead. For 3 exhausting hours, they tear through hordes, purify the remains, and repeat the process while advancing deeper into the tunnel. Mirabu keeps everyone moving by throwing restorative potions, delighting in the chance to use so many items. Ishudo then notices something glittering among the cleared rubble. The walls sparkle with pale, almost divine light. The party wonders whether the deposits are magical gems or merely unusual stones. Sigyn identifies the mana-lit material as demon iron ore, the exact substance Ishudo seeks. Large quantities remain, but Rika warns that the strange presence ahead feels like a huge monster. They move on before more undead arrive and discover a long rope hanging from a high ledge, apparently the only route upward. The rope is worn but modern, the same type sold in the capital, so Damned may have left it. Ishudo tells the others to follow after he jumps up first and checks for danger. Ishudo leaps to the upper ledge, but the instant he arrives, a powerful hidden strike slams toward him from inside the passage. After brushing aside the attack, Ishudo enters an immense cavern and finds adventurers gathered around the decaying body of a colossal dragon. The creature's rotting flesh and blackened shadow reveal that it has become an undead dragon, yet it remains conscious rather than attacking blindly. Elsewhere, Darsha lovingly tends her doll while Asmodeus reports that Ishuto, the adventurer whose true name is Ishwald Ashley, has reached Kaal Mountain. Asmodeus explains that one of Bregan's old acts of mischief is bearing fruit there. The recent disturbance on Kaal is tied directly to an ancient secret Bregan left behind. Darsha asks why Bregan cared about such an ordinary mountain. Asmodeus reveals that a dragon intimately connected to the witch has lived hidden within it. Back in the cavern, Ishuto approaches the decaying dragon as a centuries-spanning tale of Bregan and the ancient dragon Vyzen begins. Ishudo concludes the dragon is the root source of the undead, But unlike the other creatures, it shows no hostility. Something far stranger than a simple monster outbreak is happening. Damned cheerfully welcomes the approaching rescuers, saying the dragon predicted an adventuring party would arrive. Ishuto initially sees only the solitary blacksmith. After some confused banter, the old man finally introduces himself as Damned Lazuli, the missing blacksmith team Ishuto was sent to retrieve. Ishuto explains that Urim requested the search and demands the full truth about Damned, the undead outbreak, and the apparently cursed dragon. Damned refuses, calling it his friend's private business. The rest of Team Ishuto and Eris arrive after the difficult climb. Damned is happier to see a full party, but still claims he has nothing to tell them, despite the danger they faced. Damned insists his friend's secret cannot be exposed carelessly. The ancient dragon quietly speaks his name, trying to calm the stubborn blacksmith. Vizon says an adventurer's word carries weight and agrees to cooperate. He senses that Ishuto's human appearance conceals earth-shaking power. The dragon introduces himself as Vizon, a descendant of the primordial dragons. He is the very ancient creature remembered in Kaol's old mining legend. Ishuto asks why Vizon's body is rotting like an undead corpse. The ancient dragon gives the direct answer. He is suffering under a curse. The curse was placed by Bregan the Witch. With Gilda shocked to hear the name again, Vizon begins recounting events from centuries earlier. Long before the Adventurers Guild existed, Vizon traveled the world in the form of a young human man, helping people and accepting payment much like a modern adventurer. In the distant Verdana belt, he found a nameless girl, persecuted by her village and abandoned by her parents. The child who would become Bregan. Witches were feared for the mark engraved on their bodies, and villagers would have killed the injured child once hers was exposed. Vizon took pity on her and raised her while continuing his travels. He named her Bregan after a legendary male hero, hoping the unusual name would give her the strength and resilience to overcome persecution. A dragon disguised as a man and an outcast witch traveled joyfully together as guardian and child. Vizon believed they were a true family. Bregan eventually confessed romantic love, but Vizon could not return it. He cherished her as family and ward, while his nature as a dragon left him uninterested in romance. Once Bregan became an independent first-class sorcerer, Vizon ended their journey. He revealed his true dragon form and said farewell, believing their make-believe family had reached its natural end. Mirabu and the others protest the heartbreaking choice, wishing he had stayed longer. Vizon reminds them that the event occurred 3 centuries ago and cannot be undone. After parting from Bregan, Vizon returned to Kaol Mountain, withdrew from the world, and slowly became a legend forgotten by public memory. His isolation ended when Damned stumbled into the ancient cavern while searching for the legendary den. The blacksmith brought alcohol, and an unlikely friendship began. Damned continued visiting, until 10 years ago another figure appeared before Vizon. A reunion nearly 300 years in the making. Bregan returned, looking no older than 25 despite her centuries of life. Vizon could immediately see that his daughter's end was approaching. Vizon hoped they could renew their old friendship, but Bregan demanded the secret of immortality. Her attachment to living had become unnaturally strong, and he knew no such secret to give. Bregan argued that death is only a grain falling to earth, while immortality lets it become golden wheat. When Vizon rejected her reasoning, she cursed his flesh. The curse was placed 10 years ago, but set to activate near the end of its target's life. Vizon only began transforming 2 weeks ago, proof that his natural time was already running out. Bregan's spell left Vizon dead yet unable to die, converting the ancient dragon into a necro-dragon that endlessly generates undead. Damned had promised to care for Vizon in his weakness and see him off with a smile. 8 days ago, a premonition drew him to the mountain for what he expected to be a one-day farewell. Instead, Vizon's rotting body began creating uncontrollable undead that gradually spread down the mountain, leaving Damned trapped beside his friend. If the outbreak continues, undead will eventually descend on the capital. Vizon sees no reliable way to stop the curse, so Damned has stayed behind to contain the creatures around the cavern. Team Ishuto's quest is still to return Damned safely to Urim. Since the blacksmith will not abandon Vizon, Ishuto declares that they will end the ancient dragon's dilemma as well. Ishuto asks what Vizon truly wants. The answer is clear. The dragon wishes to pass on at last, so the party immediately begins searching for a way to free him. Breaking Bregan's curse is the first requirement, but ordinary clergy would be powerless against a spell of this magnitude. They need a stronger method than conventional purification. Vizin explains that tonight's full moon can weaken the curse if its light is concentrated at the ruined temple on Kaol's summit, though moonlight alone will not finish the task. Once the moonlight weakens the spell, Eris can use holy magic to break it. Vizin will finally pass on, but first they must transport his enormous body to the mountaintop. Transforming into human form is laborious in Vizin's state, and walking would still be impossible. Even as a man, he remains as heavy as the ancient dragon. Vizin once used gravity magic to reduce his weight and avoid collapsing bridges, but the curse has weakened him beyond using that technique now. Ishudo refuses to let him surrender without trying. Vizin warns that carrying his full weight is absurd, yet Ishudo asks only that he do whatever he still can. At Ishudo's insistence, Vizin attempts the basic transformation without a long preamble, saving his remaining strength for the climb. The dragon becomes a handsome young man before the astonished party. Even Vizin feels his ancient heart stir at seeing his human form again. The transformation triggers another violent burst of the curse, and Vizin coughs blood. His appearance has changed, but his dragon weight and suffering remain. Ishudo simply says he will carry Vizin to the summit. The ancient dragon calls the plan the most absurd thing he has ever heard from a slender human. Without hesitation, Ishudo lifts Vizin in his arms. The dragon is speechless that someone can bear his immense weight so casually. Though Vizin admits Ishudo is extraordinary, being carried like a bride creates the wrong impression. The rest of Team Ishudo follows, with some privately wishing Ishudo would carry them too. Darsha watches from afar and condemns Vizin for trampling on Bregan's heart. If the party intends to break her mother's curse, Bregan's daughter will stop them. Direct monsters cannot defeat Ishudo, so Darsha searches for a subtler obstruction. Studying the climb and the coming ritual, she suddenly finds an idea. The party begins climbing through worsening weather while Vizin's great weight slows them. Thick clouds hide the moon needed for the ritual. A heavy downpour begins despite the full moon. The others call mountain weather fickle, unaware that Darsha is manipulating conditions against them. Darsha smugly claims no man can control the weather, then orders the water summon Undine to maintain the storm. Vizin grows weaker on Ishudo's back and coughs more blood. Mirabu considers a potion, while the others avoid the splash and search for another way to ease the burden. Mirabu offers a magical ring that reduces the strain. Once activated around Vizin, its effect noticeably lightens the pressure on Ishudo. The ring helps enough for them to hasten toward the summit. Ishudo estimates they are 2/3 up the mountain and asks whether a route reaches the surface without descending again. Vizin knows an alternate exit from his den leading directly to the 2/3 mark. He guides them through the shortcut, saving precious time before moonrise. They review the ritual, reach the ruined temple, expose Vizin to full moonlight, then use holy magic to purify and break the weakened curse. Ishudo confuses holy magic with offensive black magic, prompting emphatic corrections. Eris explains it is a rare form of white magic available only to the highest-ranking priests. No one in the party can cast holy magic, and Rika's white magic is still only at beginner level. With little time left, the ritual seems impossible. Mirabu suddenly remembers her sacred ring, the holy relic whose stored power drove away the undead when they first entered the cave. The ring contains a gem packed with immense holy energy. If they shatter it, that power will erupt all at once and can be redirected as a spell. The catch is brutal. The gem must be crushed at a single point under tremendous pressure. Vizin says a gnome's mighty hammer would be ideal. Even an inexperienced wielder could do it with the proper weapon. Everyone's eyes turn to Sigyn, and the legendary Mjolnir resting in her hands. Sigyn quietly asks whether her hammer will work. The unexpected answer to their problem has been standing beside them all along. Damned instantly recognizes Mjolnir, the legendary hammer and sacred treasure of the gnome village, and cannot believe Sigyn possesses it. He demands to know why a non-gnome carries the relic, only to learn that Sigyn is half gnome and half giant. Although Sigyn has never crushed such a gem, she believes she can manage. Ishudo offers to take over, but she firmly refuses. Damned asks to hold Mjolnir for a moment. The hammer's glow immediately vanishes in his grip, proving it does not accept just anyone. Mjolnir has repeatedly rejected Damned despite his gnome blood. Since it has chosen Sigyn, he declares that she is their only hope. Sigyn only needs to swing with all her strength. The remaining question is, who can seize the released holy energy and aim it at Vizen? Vizen entrusts that task to Rika. Her present spell control, somewhere between beginner and intermediate, should be sufficient. Once magical energy manifests, directing holy power follows the same principles as black magic. Ishudo reassures Rika that her recent growth makes her capable. Rika trembles at the thought of firing such power into gentle Vizen. He calmly reminds her that his natural life should already have ended days ago. If the curse continues, endless undead will threaten the capital. Vizen tells Rika she will not be killing him. She'll be saving him. Moved by his trust, Rika formally accepts the duty. Vizen thanks Henrika, and at last every part of the purification plan is in place. The group emerges onto a high ledge and pauses before the magnificent view. Still carrying Vizen, Ishudo leads them onward toward the distant summit. Eris estimates they can reach the top soon and suggests refilling their water at a nearby waterfall. Then Rika notices the weather changing. Rain begins to fall, so they hurry. 1 hour later they reach the summit safely, but the storm is still gathering above them. The clouds thicken until they completely hide the full moon. The party suspects Brigand's curse, is actively fighting their attempt to free Vizen. At the summit stand the ruins of a shrine to Lunamaries, goddess of the moon and patron of elves and hunters. A fitting place for the ritual. They gently lower Vizen and prepare to wait for an opening in the clouds. Mirabu also takes back the sacred ring needed for the ceremony. As Vizen's curse produces more undead, Ishudo tells Sigyn to dispose of them. Her hammer makes short work of every monster. With the rain refusing to stop, Ishudo becomes restless and offers to help. The others insist they can handle the undead and tell him to rest. Instead, Ishudo announces that he will scout the surroundings. Before leaving, he says the others have an important task of their own. He gravely orders everyone to remain at the shrine and pray to Lunamaries for the clouds to clear. Perhaps their prayers will reach the moon goddess, he says, and the hopeful idea appeals especially to Rika. Ishudo then slips away alone. Once safely beyond their sight, Ishudo considers the trainee knight's spell levels and decides he has enough experience for what comes next. He remembers becoming the second Demon King, and once shooting one of the world's 3 moons. Compared with that, removing clouds should be simple. Careful not to destroy the moon this time, Ishudo gathers power, while his companions sincerely continue their prayers. At the ruined shrine, as their pleas reach a climax, Ishudo releases his spell with one commanding cry. Begone! A vast magic circle forms above the mountain, cutting through the storm beneath the brilliant full moon. The spell tears across the sky with overwhelming force, shredding the dense cloud cover in a single explosive sweep. The storm vanishes, leaving the summit exposed beneath a crystal-clear night sky and the full radiance of the moon. Even Ishudo is slightly winded by the enormous spell, but he smiles in satisfaction after seeing the moonlight return. Far away, Darsha stares at the sudden clearing in disbelief. Ishudo's face reflected in her surveillance magic leaves her utterly stunned. She screams that blowing away the clouds should be impossible. And worse, the blast destroyed Undine along with them. Darsha grudgingly admits that Ishudo has surpassed every expectation, overturning her careful design through sheer brute force. Ishudo casually returns after casting his first large spell in ages. While the party controls the remaining undead, he claims their prayers were answered. The others joyfully agree that Lunamaries heard them and point to the newly revealed sky. Ishudo awkwardly plays along with their faith. As strange light streaks like shooting stars overhead, the group celebrates the miracle, while Ishudo tries not to look suspicious. Eris quietly asks whether Ishudo caused it. He denies being capable of controlling weather, leaving her deeply unconvinced. With the sky finally clear, full moonlight pours over Vizen's cursed body and begins weakening the necromantic power. The creation of undead stops completely. Relieved, Damned produces alcohol and invites everyone to drink while they wait for the moon to reach its peak. They share food and drink around the fire, determined to keep their promise and see Vizen off with smiles instead of sorrow. Vizen enjoys a final drink, touched that Dam spent his meager savings to prepare this farewell feast. During the celebration, Sigyn gathers her courage and asks Dam to accept her as his blacksmithing apprentice. Damned is impressed by the young warrior's ambition and listens seriously despite having already drunk far too much. With a broad, drunken grin, Damned agrees to train Sigyn. Her long-sought chance to become a true blacksmith has finally arrived. Mirabu eagerly congratulates Sigyn, and the two young adventurers renew their determination to keep working toward their dreams. The entire party raises a toast, turning Visen's final night into a warm celebration shared among new companions. At last Visen says the time has come to say goodbye. Though Damned struggles to accept it, his old friend has made peace with death. Visen looks up at the moon and hopes its next beam will be even more beautiful, then signals that he is ready. Mirabu uses her tool warrior ability to create a sturdy pedestal for the sacred ring, completing the ritual's physical preparations. The ring is placed on the makeshift altar. Damned gives Sigyn the order to begin. Sigyn steadies Mjolnir, controls her breathing, and lifts the chosen hammer while everyone watches in tense silence. With one tremendous downward strike, Sigyn smashes the pedestal and shatters the sacred ring's holy gem. A blinding mass of holy energy erupts. Ishudo keeps his distance as Rika recalls the spell sequence and the incantation she must use. Facing Visen through the radiance, Rika promises to deliver him to his final rest and begins directing the sacred power. Rika completes the sacred shine incantation, commanding the holy light to illuminate the darkness as the gathered energy surges toward Visen. The purification envelops Visen. Damned calls desperately to his old friend, and the dragon gives him one final farewell. Visen thanks Damned for visiting throughout his long solitude. The two friends fondly remember their 80 years of companionship and adventure. Ishudo offers Visen a place on Team Ishudo should he ever be reborn. The ancient dragon laughs, delighted by the invitation. Visen says that in another life, he would love to travel the world on new adventures, and Ishudo promises to make that dream real someday. The purified dragon begins dissolving into countless motes of light. Everyone watches in respectful silence as his suffering finally ends. Visen's enormous body disappears completely beneath the moonlit sky, leaving only his ancient skeleton at the ruined shrine. The party believes the ordeal is over and prepares to offer flowers, but Ishudo senses something stirring inside the remains. The skeleton suddenly lurches back to life and blasts the others away. A monstrous cursed spirit has taken control of Visen's bones. Rika's first spell collides with a dark magical field around the beast. The barrier absorbs the attack without letting it reach the skeleton. The reborn horror retaliates, forcing the party to scatter. What should have been a peaceful farewell has become one final battle. Ishudo strikes the barrier physically and is thrown back unharmed. He realizes the field deflects every physical attack and orders Rika to test it with magic. Though fighting Visen's bones feels wrong, Rika knows freeing him quickly is an act of mercy. She begins an invocation to Ignika, god of flames. Rika unleashes her spell at full strength, sending a massive fireball directly into the cursed barrier. The blast shocks the others with its scale. Eris reminds them that Rika is a grand sorcerer and orders everyone to stop gawking. When fire fails, Rika immediately calls upon the Arctic glaciers and attacks with ice, searching for any element that can pierce the defense. The frozen strike engulfs the target, but the party waits anxiously to see whether it has harmed the cursed spirit. Ice also causes no damage. Comparing the barrier to Cerberus's defenses, they conclude that only specific attributes can affect it. Because the spirit is almost certainly dark-aligned, holy power should work, but the party already consumed the sacred ring's one stored holy spell. Ishudo asks Sigyn to attack the barrier with Mjolnir, hoping the legendary gnome weapon carries enough sacred power to break through. Sigyn's strike produces a reaction, but the damage is tiny. In her normal state, she lacks the strength to overcome such a powerful cursed beast. When the monster counters, Ishudo sweeps Sigyn out of danger just in time, saving her before the barrier's attack can land. Ishudo apologizes for misjudging the gap in strength. A level 3 attack is insufficient, and Sigyn cannot enter her berserker state on command. The cursed spirit launches a broad area attack toward the party. Ishudo realizes Rika and Mirabu cannot escape its range in time. Rika shoves Mirabu to safety and takes the hit herself. She collapses, leaving Ishudo and the others terrified by her silence. Rika survives, but Eris scolds her reckless sacrifice. Then they notice the attack has inflicted an abnormal status. The curse has left Rika confused and unable to control herself. As she rises unsteadily, Ishudo senses that something much worse is coming. Rika begins firing explosive spells indiscriminately, turning her immense magical talent against allies and enemy alike. Her chantless attacks are dangerously powerful even while confused. Fire cannot harm Ishudo, but everyone else scrambles for cover, as he asks Mirabu for a harmless countermeasure. Mirabu produces a sleep grenade and hurls it into the chaos, praying that it will stop Rika without hurting her. The grenade bursts at Rika's feet, spreading its sleeping effect through the air before she can cast again. Rika drops safely. Ishudo praises Mirabu's quick work, then returns to the urgent problem of forcing Sigyn into berserker mode. Every second matters. Ishudo asks Eris to trust him and hold the monster back while she protects Sigyn no matter what happens. Eris agrees despite not knowing his plan. Ishudo says everything now depends on Sigyn, and promises the others that it will be all right. When they demand an explanation, Ishudo steps forward alone, asking them to trust him, before abruptly approaching the cursed spirit. He allows the creature's restraints to seize him. The attack cannot injure him, leaving Eris baffled about what he intends to accomplish. The cursed bones repeatedly batter Ishudo, but none of the strikes inflict damage. He keeps playing the helpless victim for Sigyn to see. Ishudo lets the spirit wrap more restraints around his body, deliberately making his situation appear increasingly desperate. The monster drags him farther away. Ishudo loudly calls for someone to save him, pushing Sigyn's emotions toward their breaking point. Still bound, Ishudo pleads directly with Sigyn. She cannot understand why he is taking such an outrageous risk. He theatrically claims the cursed spirit adores him, and will carry him far away, pretending to be utterly defeated. Ishudo adds that the creature may even force him to marry it. The absurd threat finally strikes precisely the nerve he was targeting. Sigyn screams that losing Ishudo is unacceptable. Her jealousy and panic flip the emotional switch that triggers her berserker state. Seeing the transformation begin, Ishudo gives one final push and begs Sigyn to save him. He calls her full name, Sigyn Orvangur, while she grips Mjolnir and lets rage consume every hesitation. With glowing eyes, berserker Sigyn charges the cursed spirit, and declares that she is proceeding to clean it up. Mjolnir's frenzied blows tear into the barrier far more effectively than before. Ishudo realizes his risky provocation worked even better than expected. Sigyn keeps pressing the assault until the defense begins cracking. Eris sees the opening and signals Ishudo to move now. Still bound, Ishudo reassures everyone and prepares to finish the monster once Sigyn has broken its protection. As the barrier collapses, Ishudo gathers his strength but promises to hold back enough to avoid reducing his dear friend's bones to dust. He delivers the decisive controlled blow, smashing the cursed spirit out of Vizen's skeleton while preserving the remains. The dark presence disintegrates, and the ancient bones finally settle into true stillness beneath the moon. With Vizen at peace and Brigand's curse destroyed, the long tale of the witch and the ancient dragon finally draws to a close. The exhausted group camps on the mountain. Ishudo complains that the ground is cold and hard, while the girls claim the only tent. Without Gilda to warp them home, they face a long walk and hope to return before dark. Ishudo wanders off to find water and wash his face. At a quiet forest pool, Ishudo unexpectedly discovers Eris bathing alone and freezes before she notices him. Eris calmly asks whether he came to bathe with her. Mortified, Ishudo apologizes and insists he never expected anyone to be there. Eris asks him to guard the pool from peeping adventurers, then innocently wonders who would want to look at her because she is still growing. When Eris bluntly asks whether Ishudo wants to peek, he vehemently refuses. Afterward, everyone makes the return journey safely. Before sundown, they reach the capital's adventurer guild, submit their reports, and receive the appropriate rewards, or scoldings, before collapsing in exhaustion. The next day, Sigyn's victory raises her to level 4, matching Rika at the top rank for beginner adventurers. Mirabu vows to catch up. Team Ishudo visits Dam's workshop, where his granddaughter Urim welcomes them. They have come to discuss his promise to train Sigyn. Damned acts bewildered, and claims he never agreed to take an apprentice. The party realizes his drunken promise has vanished from his memory. Although deeply grateful for their help with Vizen, Damned insists that no debt can make him honor a promise he does not remember. Everyone pleads with him to reconsider, but the stubborn smith says he has rejected countless would-be pupils and no longer takes apprentices. Damned calls himself an obsolete old man and argues that Sigyn would learn more from modern techniques. She insists she wants traditional gnome smithing. He dismisses those laborious traditions as unpopular and poorly understood. Even the party is surprised by how fiercely he resists preserving them. Ishudo fears Sigyn may go berserk and demolish the entire workshop. Then Urim, furious with her grandfather, steps into the argument. Urim condemns Damned for making a promise while drunk, and then pretending it never happened, finally shouting that she hates him. Her tears break his resistance. Damned admits he cannot take Sigyn as a formal apprentice, but he grudgingly offers her one chance. For the test, Damned gives Sigyn metal smelted from demon iron ore, and tells her to listen closely before attempting to forge it. He calls her inexperienced, yet explains that mishandled demon iron behaves no differently from ordinary iron. The trial will test her true metal. Because gnomes possess a special connection to demon iron, Sigyn's blood may let her forge a magic blade. Damned orders her to give it everything. If she produces only a dull blade, she must accept failure and quit. In return, Damned grants unrestricted use of his workshop for the attempt. After being rejected elsewhere, Sigyn recognizes this as her only chance and accepts. She begins Damned's unforgiving test without hesitation. For 7 days and nights, Sigyn works from sunrise to sunset, doing almost nothing but smithing while her determination burns hotter than the forge. Her deepest motivation is not fame or fortune. She wants to help Ishido, stay beside him, and understand the love she still cannot name. Sigyn dreams of adventuring as both warrior and smith, supporting Ishido with a magic blade he might someday treasure above all others. The result is a rough dagger, with most of the greatsword-sized ore wasted. Damned still refuses formal apprenticeship, but admits forging any magic blade at her age is remarkable. Damned swore never to take another pupil, and will not break that oath. Yet he does not want traditional gnome smithing to disappear with his generation. So he grants Sigyn full access to his workshop and the tools from his prime, promising to offer advice whenever she cannot solve something alone. Mirabu celebrates gaining her first same-age friend. Damned adds that a smith must understand weapons firsthand, so battlefield experience is essential to Sigyn's training. Sigyn returns to Team Ishido, where Rika and Mirabu eagerly ask how the test went. She presents the crude but successful dagger, and announces that Damned gave her a passing grade and permission to use his workshop. The party celebrates the excellent news. Sigyn then shyly offers the magic blade to Ishido, explaining that she forged it especially for him. Ishido admires the demon iron pattern. Sigyn confirms that magic can be channeled through the weapon, making it a genuine magic blade. He asks its name. Sigyn reveals an absurdly romantic title, while Ishido simply rejoices that he finally has a weapon unlikely to shatter in his hands. Her full name, Magic Blade. Super Wedding Anniversary Dagger Sigyn Special, is far too long, exposing just how seriously she imagined its romantic meaning. Mirabu invokes her authority as a tool warrior and permanently renames it Magic Blade Zero, a perfect weapon for a level 0 adventurer. Sigyn erupts over the unauthorized naming, and everyone struggles to calm her as life around Team Ishido grows busier than ever. During the sweltering 7th month, the team finally receives a day off after weeks of constant small and medium monster quests. Rika sprawls across Mirabu despite the heat, claiming her low body temperature should help. Mirabu discovers that half-elves are not naturally cool at all. They joke about making ice with Rika's magic, until Ishido returns carrying a small box fashioned from one of his rolled-up shirts. Ishido presents Rika with a beautiful ring, and asks her to accept it, instantly leaving her speechless. Rika hesitates, feeling unworthy, but Ishido insists it belongs to her alone, and gently offers to place it on her left ring finger. Mistaking the gesture for a proposal, Rika panics over their supposed incompatibility, while Mirabu quietly approves of the romantic development. Unaware of the misunderstanding, Ishido slides the ring onto Rika's sweaty hand and remarks that it fits perfectly. Rika struggles to steady her heart, overwhelmed by what she believes is an engagement. Ishido only now worries how Sigyn might interpret the scene. Sigyn returns from the workshop and immediately notices the ring on Rika's hand, creating an awkward silence. Rika nervously says it fits and looks lovely, while Sigyn stares at the beautiful gift Ishido chose for her. Ishido explains that Damned crafted the ring with Sigyn's help. She even measured Rika's finger while the mage slept. Mirabu asks whether Sigyn is blessing Rika's engagement, but Ishido corrects her. The ring is a shared present from all three teammates. They name the magic item the Guardian Angel's Ring. While worn, it prevents poison, paralysis, sleep, confusion, and other abnormal statuses. The gift is a precaution after Rika's confused rampage nearly harmed Mirabu and Sigyn. Relieved yet embarrassed, Rika asks why it went on her left ring finger. Damned had told Ishudo that magical rings produce their strongest effect on that finger. Rika's lack of experience with valuable items caused the misunderstanding. Mirabu teases that Rika looked newly engaged, making everything worse. Sigyn explains the right ring finger gives nearly the same benefit. Rika quickly moves the ring to her right hand, insisting many mages wear rings there. Fortunately, it still fits. She thanks everyone, promises to treasure the gift, and tells Sigyn how glad and honored she is to belong with them. The friends vow to keep improving together. Rika wishes she remembered her confused spellcasting, but hunger soon sends the group searching for snacks. As Ishudo heads toward the lobby, innkeeper Shiron intercepts him with paperwork and unexpectedly serious news. Their free lodging was a 3-month reward for defeating Surtur, and it expires tomorrow. Team Ishudo cannot afford Demon Lord Castle's regular rates. They consider finding cheaper rooms, but Ishudo hates leaving the luxurious inn and the many friends they have made there. Rika and Sigyn will follow Ishudo anywhere. While Mirabu argues that abandoning the excellent tavern and hot spring would be unwise, Ishudo decides they must accept larger quests and earn enough money to stay. Snack time is postponed as the team heads straight for the guild. At the capital branch, they arrive late enough that Ishudo fears every lucrative assignment has already been taken. Instead of normal business, the guild looks like a lively tavern. Elsie warmly greets Team Ishudo amid adventurers celebrating everywhere. Elsie announces that the incredibly rare Vastor dragon Luxoros has reappeared near the capital. Though its tongue-twisting name confuses Ishudo, Luxoros passes the outskirts every 4 years carrying a vast vein of mithril on its back, prompting the entire city to hold a festival. Ishudo immediately wants to slay it, but Elsie forbids any killing because Luxoros is designated a sacred beast. Mining its mithril is permitted under strict rules. Ishudo realizes the festival is effectively a grand competition rather than an ordinary battle. The contest awakens Ishudo's competitive spirit. His homeland once planned tournaments in his honor, but war prevented any during his reign as Demon King. A huge mithril haul could pay their debts and lodging in one stroke. Lance, Eris, and Latessa are equally eager to aim for first place. The Silver Wolf Knights arrive at the guild, and Ishudo greets the familiar faces with enthusiasm. Latessa forcefully pulls Ishudo into a hug before explaining her concern. Luxoros normally appears every 4 years, yet something about this visit feels wrong. Luxoros has arrived in summer instead of autumn, breaking an unchanging pattern recorded across the festival's 132-year history. Because the abnormal timing worries her, Latessa proposed an independent guild survey rather than relying solely on the government's report. The government accepted its own team's findings and refused further investigation. Latessa cannot dismiss the possibility that Ishudo's presence attracted the beast. The other women agree that Ishudo overturns normal expectations, while he awkwardly insists that attracting an unknown dragon is not among his talents. Guild Director Hortensia arrives and officially announces that the crown has confirmed Luxoros' approach toward the capital. If unobstructed, it will reach the nearest point in 9 days, when the 33rd Luxoros Mining Festival will begin. Applications are submitted by party. Hortensia reveals the requirement. Each party must average at least level 9. Team Ishudo quickly realizes its members fall short. Despite their recent success, the team's low numerical levels make Ishudo feel like a liability. Without the required average, they cannot enter at all. His companions insist the unprecedented level 0 leader is not to blame, since none of them except Eris ranks especially high. Even Sigyn's level 13 while Berserk cannot raise their average enough. She apologizes, only making Ishudo feel worse. Unwilling to surrender, Ishudo proposes mining Luxoros before it reaches the capital. But the others immediately warn that this would violate the rules. He throws a childish fit over being excluded, then suggests diverting Luxoros so every waiting competitor misses it. Another scheme Hortensia overhears. Hortensia understands that the festival could erase Team Ishudo's debt, and Ishudo refuses to sit idle while such an opportunity passes. She addresses every adventurer in the guild and reminds them that Team Ishudo has achieved extraordinary feats in a remarkably short time. From defeating Surtur to rescuing the Silver Wolf Knights in Grakios, their assistance prevented multiple recent disasters from becoming unsalvageable. As branch director, Hortensia declares that Team Ishudo deserves a chance to enter the festival and asks the assembled adventurers for their approval. Ishudo sweetens the request by offering drinks to anyone who agrees, transforming the vote into loud, enthusiastic support. The guild erupts in applause and demands a celebration. No one voices a complaint about making an exception for Team Ishudo. Some adventurers wonder whether Ishudo is recruiting temporary members, while the Silver Wolves note that his shameless appeal almost resembles bribery. Hortensia officially welcomes Team Ishudo as a festival participant. Ishudo rallies his companions around one goal: seize a fortune. He declares they will mine as no one ever has before. Other adventurers marvel that a party of children has entered the famous competition. With 9 days remaining, Ishudo replaces his original plan of constant paid quests with a focused preparation schedule. They will accept no quests before the festival. Instead of ordinary leveling, each member will train specifically for the mining challenge. A strong festival result could cover living costs and erase their debt, whereas 9 days of small quests could never produce comparable savings. Rather than chase levels desperately, they must improve every skill that can increase their total mithril yield. Rika will reduce magical misfires, Mirabu will sharpen her precision, and Sigen receives a pickaxe for dedicated mining practice. Ishudo leaves each training method to the individual, but tells them to seek advice. They must also master the festival's strict rules. He distributes copies of the regulations. Rika, Mirabu, and Sigen rush out to train before dark, leaving Ishudo to research Luxoros. Records say the titanic vast ore dragon was first sighted around 350 years ago after remaining completely unseen for an unknown age. Luxoros carries a mithril mine on its back, wanders between different lands, and returns to the capital roughly every 4 autumns. Other monsters and creatures sometimes ride on its back, but the ore eventually vanishes with them. Luxoros still allows people to mine without retaliation. Because mithril is exceptionally rare, uncontrolled extraction could flood the market, collapse prices, and deprive the world of a major supply source. Luxoros's gentle temperament and predictable visits make it a stable provider of precious ore, explaining why the guild strictly forbids its harming it. The festival is both an adventurer's bonus stage and a massive economic event, since mithril profits support countless families and trades. While dozing over the records, Ishudo dreams of his mother, a foreign princess kidnapped when his father, the first Demon King, destroyed her homeland. His mother was forced to bear a child with demonic features. Ishudo wonders how terrified she must have been and whether she could ever have loved him. After rejecting his father, she became ill, was confined to a cell, and supposedly died when Ishudo was 5. In the dream, he cannot accept her image as real. The child Ishudo begs his mother to return and embrace him. In the present, adult Ishudo lies asleep, murmuring for her. Sigen finds him restless on the sofa and realizes he may be dreaming about his mother. Though she does not know how to comfort him, she gently approaches, and Ishudo's dazed pleading gives her a strange idea, just as Rika and Mirabu return from training. They discover Sigen cradling Ishudo like a baby and using a pacifier because she obviously cannot breastfeed him, creating a wildly misleading scene. The returning girls are more shocked than angry. Sigen calls it innocent pretend play, but nothing about the tableau looks innocent. Ishudo wakes in Sigen's arms and freezes as he realizes how compromising the situation appears. Sigen explains that he looked adorable, and she only found a pacifier. Ishudo insists desperately that the scene is not what it looks like. He remembers dreaming of his late mother, but denies asking Sigen to do anything. Mirabu believes he was asleep and calls Sigen's behavior childlike pretend play. Rika studies Ishudo's sincere eyes and finally accepts his explanation, though she is still flustered and must return to training. As she leaves, Rika warns Ishudo to wake sooner next time. The awkward crisis ends without anyone pressing him about the nightmare. Ishudo is relieved they did not ask about his mother, because revealing his demonic heritage and his family's darkness is the last thing he wants. He admits even his careful plans can fail and feels unusually vulnerable, unaware that Darsha is secretly watching him. Darsha believes the promised time is near. Bregan's prophecy says a dread demon king will descend when the world gates open beneath a crimson circle in year 999. After observing Ishudo, Darsha is convinced he is that prophesied demon king, and wonders what she could become by stealing his overwhelming power. Her familiar Asmodeus notices her strange mood and asks what is wrong. Darsha abruptly dismisses the concern and refuses to explain. Darsha notes that her cute familiar seems different than usual, then opens a mysterious book and asks Asmodeus what it knows. 3 days before the festival, Demon Lord Castle is packed with guests, discussing nothing but Luxoros, leaving Ishudo exhausted by the constant chatter. Rika explains that the once-in-4 years event affects merchants, craftspeople, markets, and the entire economy, not just participating adventurers. Ishudo demands a new topic, so Mirabu enthusiastically offers to tell him a legend unrelated to Luxoros. Mirabu recounts the legend of 7 heroes chosen by Lumieres, god of light, and guided by Aurora to defeat Barbossa, god of darkness. The company included a Night King, Fairy King, Dragon Knight, Giant Chieftain, Court Mage, High Priest, and, most strangely, the Curio Codger. Mirabu swears the final hero truly owned a tool shop, while Ishudo dismisses the addition as historical nonsense embarrassing her profession. The Curio Codger allegedly turned the decisive battle by throwing a spear through Barbossa's eye, earning recognition despite beginning as an errand boy. Remembering Mirabu's bravery against Cerberus, Ishudo concedes the legend may be possible, but his fondness for the darkness side irritates everyone. Their conversation stops when Sigyn barely touches her meal. The group worries that she has lost her appetite and should rest instead of shopping. Sigyn suddenly collapses over the table and asks Ishudo for help, prompting genuine fear that she needs a doctor. She complains that her breasts feel unbearably heavy and asks Ishudo to remove them, something far beyond his powers. Rika discovers Sigyn has a fever. Balancing intense blacksmith training with adventuring in hot, humid weather has exhausted her. Ishudo regrets failing to notice sooner. He entrusts Sigyn to Rika, who can make herbal remedies, while Ishudo and Mirabu handle the remaining festival shopping. Ishudo orders Sigyn to rest until the festival, warning that overwork could make her miss the main event. She reluctantly agrees. Rika and Mirabu try to carry Sigyn back together, but even their combined strength cannot make her enormous body budge. Ishudo lifts Sigyn effortlessly, leaving the others unsure whether she is unbelievably heavy or they are simply weak. Mirabu mourns the loss of her grand tool warrior moment, while Ishudo carries Sigyn away as if her weight means nothing. Afterward, Ishudo and Mirabu finish buying supplies, especially the healing potions she will store. The festival will provide ordinary pickaxes. Ishudo plans to mine barehanded because every pickaxe he grips explodes. Mirabu suggests using Magic Blade Zero, though treating Sigyn's gift as a mining tool feels wrong. She argues Sigyn would be happy if her creation helped him. Ishudo agrees to use it carefully, then notices Mirabu has seemed distracted. Mirabu insists their outing should include normal holiday fun, not just quests and shopping, and excitedly points out a beautiful dress. Ishudo is surprised she likes such feminine clothing, unintentionally wounding her pride by assuming tool warriors only care about practical outfits. Mirabu protests that she has fashion sense too. A saleswoman invites her to try the dress in an available changing room. Mirabu grows timid, worrying it will not suit her and they cannot afford it. The saleswoman assures her there is no obligation to buy. Ishudo vaguely remembers Mirabu declaring she would become a beautiful woman someday. Mistaking this encouragement for romance, Mirabu finally agrees to try it. The dress transforms her so completely that Ishudo barely recognizes her. He recalls Eris wearing something similar and cannot look away. Mirabu loves the outfit and vows to return once she has enough money. The shop can prepare another if this one sells first. The saleswoman assumes Ishudo is Mirabu's boyfriend and urges her to show him. Mirabu denies it furiously, yet secretly wonders whether they truly seem close. She finds Ishudo asleep while waiting. Looking at his peaceful face, Mirabu admits he is strikingly handsome. Because she kept him waiting, Mirabu lets him nap a little longer and studies him from nearby, increasingly flustered by his appearance. When Ishudo wakes, Mirabu asks how the dress looks. He responds with a bewildering question. Who is she? Offended beyond belief, Mirabu loudly identifies herself as Mirabu Castelvio, the indispensable, extraordinary tool warrior. Ishudo finally admits he recognizes her, but says she looks like a completely different person. Exactly the compliment she did not want. Mirabu chases him in fury for implying she always looks childish, while Ishudo remains confused that his observation could be news. Ishudo asks the price, and learns the dress is extremely expensive, explaining why Mirabu had been reluctant even to try it. He praises her outfit using an odd saying from his homeland about even goblins having garments, then tells the saleswoman they will buy the full set. Mirabu protests that 30,000 lions for one outfit is absurd, when Team Ishudo is already struggling with debt. Ishudo confidently predicts they will strike it rich in 3 days. Mirabu warns that such certainty usually invites a harsh reality check. Refusing to lose the festival, Ishudo orders the outfit delivered to their Demon Lord castle room and completes the purchase paperwork. Mirabu asks why he is being unusually kind. Ishudo says he once gave Rika a ring and wants to treat his teammates fairly. She suggests a gift for Sigen as well. Ishudo considers thanking her for Magic Blade Zero, but rejects Mirabu's proposal idea, because Sigen is only 10. Distracted by the conversation, Mirabu trips and twists her ankle. Ishudo checks that she can stand and finds no obvious break. Mirabu blames herself for getting hurt just before the festival. Ishudo tells her to stop moping and be more careful after receiving healing. Since she cannot walk, Ishudo offers a piggyback ride. Mirabu insists he cannot simply carry a girl over his shoulder through a busy street. Ishudo bluntly confirms she is biologically a girl, leaving her flustered, then looks for somewhere to rest out of the fierce sun. They enter an extravagant building labeled a rest area. Its palace-like exterior excites Mirabu, while Ishudo suspects it offers a different kind of rest. Inside, they find an enormous bed and an open bath in the same room. Ishudo realizes with horror that they have entered a lover's hotel. Mirabu innocently admires the magical ventilation and unusual design. She even books the overnight option, believing it may be useful. She explores the room at intimate distance, still unaware of its purpose, while Ishudo grows increasingly frantic about the misunderstanding. He dreads what Rika or Sigen would think if they discovered him here with Mirabu, and concludes neither outcome would end well. Mirabu finds a pamphlet describing the bath, distracting Ishudo from his panic, with surprisingly useful information. The bath supposedly heals as effectively as white magic, designed to help guests recover within a limited time window. Ishudo logically tells Mirabu to use it for her ankle. She can heal without paying a doctor or white mage, yet still hesitates. Because Ishudo's defenses prevent the bath from affecting him, he envies her benefit. Mirabu accuses him of merely wanting to see her naked. Ishudo snorts at the accusation and tells her to face the wall, comparing her unfavorably with Rika and Sigen and further bruising her pride. When Ishudo finally abandons the idea, Mirabu declares she will only enter if he joins her, accidentally trapping them both in the scheme. Mirabu strips and enters the bath in complete panic, insisting she only needs a caretaker to wash her injured ankle. They realize they have talked past each other into sharing the bath for no actual reason, leaving Mirabu mortified beside Ishudo. She points out that she is naked right next to him, but Ishudo shows no reaction and calmly comments on the pleasant water. Ishudo advises her to improve the skills she lacks, oblivious to her embarrassment, and tells her to relax until the healing effect activates. A strange fuzzy sensation suddenly spreads through Mirabu's body. Her startled cries make Ishudo demand an explanation. The magical bath completely removes the pain from her ankle. Mirabu leaps up, thrilled that she feels capable of anything again. She thanks Ishudo exuberantly, only to realize she is standing naked before him. He scolds her for making a childish fuss as she dives under the water. Mirabu cannot believe Ishudo sits calmly after seeing her naked, but he only repeats that she is healed and should stop fussing. After changing, she admits the recovery bath worked far better than expected. Ishudo finds washing away the day's sweat refreshing. He suggests returning with Rika and Sigen, perhaps in separate groups. Mirabu explodes at his impossible density and asks a favor instead. Mirabu wants their visit kept secret. Ishudo assumes she is merely embarrassed about getting hurt before the festival and readily agrees. Festival day arrives. Rika notes that Ishudo and Mirabu were gone a long time, while Mirabu awkwardly claims they only handled errands. The competition grounds fill the Lavinia Plains on the capital's outskirts, transformed into a vast venue for Luxoros's arrival. More than 10,000 spectators and adventurers gather before sunset. Luxoros is expected to appear precisely enough for organizers to establish a safe zone. Ishudo questions treating a living dragon like a rail-bound trolley, but veterans trust centuries of predictable behavior. Team Ishudo divides roles. Rika and Mirabu form the ground crew, while Ishudo and Sigen will climb onto Luxoros and mine. Rika may use status ailments to slow the dragon, but direct attacks and excessive interference would earn a foul. Ishudo encourages confidence rather than dependence on equipment. Mirabu must keep Rika supplied with potions and should not ration them. Both girls promise the miners can count on them. As evening falls, the colossal sacred beast finally appears, dwarfing the festival grounds with its mountain-like body. Luxoros is so enormous that everyone marvels they did not notice it sooner. The crowd cheers for the once-in-4 years walking jackpot. The 33rd Luxoros Mining Festival officially begins, and Ishudo charges forward with only one objective: strike it rich. Watching the turtle-like mountain stride closer, he can hardly wait to begin and urges the others to hurry. Before splitting up, Ishudo asks Eris where Gilda is, noticing that the ancient witch is absent from the great event. Eris explains Gilda is still at the Royal Library, using its unrivaled collection to research Bregen instead of attending the festival. Access is limited to great sages, so Eris cannot send ordinary subordinates to help. Gilda must pursue the investigation alone. A silver wolf attendant announces it is time. Eris departs for her role while Ishudo rejoins his team at the starting line. Ishudo hands Sigen a pickaxe, sends Rika and Mirabu to the ground crew, and tells everyone to show the progress earned through training. As the signal sounds, Ishudo scoops Sigen into his arms and launches himself toward the moving sacred beast. Other adventurers watch in amazement as he races ahead, carrying Sigen and claiming the advantage of first arrival. Ishudo leaps onto Luxoros's back and absorbs the landing without difficulty, placing Sigen safely on the enormous shell. They have boarded the beast successfully, and immediately begin searching for exposed mithril deposits among the rocky terrain. A rich vein could erase all their debt. Sigen fills the bags with her pickaxe, while Ishudo reluctantly uses Magic Blade Zero to chip ore. Ishudo wishes he could have used the enchanted weapon in battle first. But desperate finances demand desperate measures. Then violent tremors disrupt their work. Sigen catches Ishudo just as the shaking nearly throws him aside, saving him from a dangerous fall. The unending tremors make mining nearly impossible. Ishudo wonders whether the ground crew is doing anything to slow Luxoros. Below, Mirabu discovers that her specially prepared sleep rounds have no effect on the dragon at all. Every ground crew's compound fails, so Rika steps forward to use her powerful sleep magic, despite her embarrassment. Veterans warn everyone to retreat before Rika casts, counting on her to stop Luxoros where ordinary ammunition failed. Rika invokes Barbosa, brother of Lumieres, asking the god of darkness to grant the dragon peaceful sleep until light returns. Her enormous spell expands across the plain, enveloping Luxoros and the surrounding area in dark magical energy. The scale shocks everyone. Latessa identifies it as Mother's Lullaby, an extremely powerful sleep spell far beyond a typical beginner. Rika remains awake because the guardian angel's ring protects her from sleep, resolving curious speculation about why she wears it. She finishes the casting safely. The spectators praise its staggering size, though Rika still does not know whether Luxoros is affected. Latessa certifies the spell as exceptional, and assumes no creature could withstand it, ordering everyone to prepare for the dragon's eventual awakening. Instead, Luxoros roars and keeps moving. Rika fears she made a mistake, but the spell itself worked exactly as intended. Latessa realizes the roar is actually the shockwave of Luxoros casting its own counterspell, something never recorded in 350 years of sightings. The dragon's early arrival was already abnormal. Now it resists magic with magic while its relentless rumbling continues. Eris catches up with Ishudo and the miners on Luxoros's back. They agree the ground crew is clearly struggling. She observes that Luxoros's constitution has somehow changed, and it is fighting their interference far harder than during previous festivals. With no time to wait, Ishudo orders Sigen to focus on mining, while he protects her from falling rocks and the violent movement. Nearby, the Silver Wolf team refuses to yield, despite the danger. Their rivalry with Team Ishudo turns the difficult mining into a race for first place. Eris reminds Lance that this remains a competition. Falling rocks and tremors cannot justify letting Team Ishudo lap them. Lance vows to protect Eris whenever conditions become dangerous, allowing her to continue mining without hesitation. The rivals promise to beat each other. With limited time, both speed and precision become essential to victory. Teams race across the unstable shell, harvesting every visible deposit while Luxoros bucks and shakes beneath them. A familiar round creature suddenly appears before Ishudo and greets the adventurer, as though they have met before. The strange familiar repeats its greeting, making Ishudo stop mining and study the one-eyed face more carefully. He recognizes it from the Grakios parade as Darsha's companion. The creature confirms the connection, but asks why Ishudo is present. Introducing itself as Asmodeus, Darsha's caretaker, it finds Ishudo too busy chasing mithril and debt relief to entertain a conversation. Asmodeus mocks the mismatch between Ishudo's strength and intelligence, then tells him to examine the ore he has gathered. Every piece of supposed mithril has turned into ordinary rock. If the ore was an illusion, then the Luxoros beneath them may be false as well. A new kind of tremor strikes. Ishudo realizes the entire expedition has been deceived, though he cannot yet understand how. Asmodeus opens a dark portal and declares that Luxoros' true nature no longer matters because Ishudo has much more to learn. The familiar swallows Ishudo into the portal with the message that the majestic witch seeks an audience. He vanishes before Sigen's eyes, leaving the miners stunned by the sudden abduction. Sigen panics, but Rika calms her and insists Ishudo is far too formidable to be defeated so easily. From Asmodeus's words, Rika concludes Darsha wanted Ishudo alive. She asks Sigen to trust him and believe he will return. Sigen resolves to trust Ishudo, then alerts Eris and Lance that every piece of ore is behaving strangely and asks whether they found any real mithril. Faced with conditions none of them have seen before, the veterans halt the entire festival and order an evacuation, fearing the spectators may soon be in danger. Eris admits Gilda would know more, but they cannot depend on her forever. Meanwhile, inside the royal library, Gilda independently reaches an unsettling conclusion. The documents record that Bregan became pregnant several times, yet every pregnancy ended in miscarriage, and no father was ever identified. Because she was constantly watched, wholesale falsification seems unlikely. Since witches already have exceptionally low fertility, every clue tells Gilda that Bregan could not have borne Darsha. She recalls Eris mentioning Bregan's connection to Vyzin and digs deeper. Bregan left behind an enormous collection of original witchcraft, but the records suggest she preserved it to immortalize her own genius, not to benefit later generations. Then Gilda discovers research into creating a homunculus and suspects that this artificial life form, not ordinary spellcraft, was Bregan's true objective. A savage roar suddenly reaches the library. An attendant insists the gentle Luxoros would never sound so violent, and even the strict librarian realizes an emergency has erupted outside. Back at the festival grounds, the creature posing as Luxoros sheds its disguise and rises as a gargantuan dragon of molten rock and volcanic fire. Burning debris rains across the plains. Latessa orders everyone to stay focused, then immediately asks whether the teams inside the mine have returned safely. She is told that Eris and Lance are with the miners, and Ishudo is there as well. Trusting them to return, Latessa turns her attention to the threat outside. The volcanic monster begins advancing toward the royal capital. If the adventurers cannot stop it here, the city ahead will face a catastrophe. Eris, Lance, and Sigen make it back from the mine, but Ishudo is conspicuously absent, alarming Rika, Mirabu, and the others waiting for him. Mirabu explains that Darsha's familiar snatched Ishudo away. Hearing the name, Merida immediately recognizes the abduction as another of Darsha's sinister schemes. Merida then clarifies that Luxoros did not transform at all. The hostile dragon had been disguised as the holy beast from the very beginning. Gilda arrives in spectacular fashion and strikes the impostor with a powerful spell, confirming that the crisis has grown far beyond an ordinary festival disaster. She identifies the enemy as Volcanos, the great lava dragon, and a summoned beast. With no time for shock, Gilda orders everyone to prepare for its next attack. Volcanos towers over the battlefield, even larger than Surtur. Its overwhelming scale makes one truth obvious. Escaping will not save the capital, so they must fight. Gilda warns that Volcanos is far more resilient than Surtur. Dark element attacks are the most effective option, but that advantage is difficult for this group to exploit. Only a few of them can wield darkness, leaving the party badly outmatched. Surprisingly, Gilda names fire as the next useful element, despite this creature's blazing appearance. Because Volcanos is a summoned beast, Gilda tells them to discard ordinary assumptions about elemental weaknesses. Eris cannot help wishing Ishudo were still beside them. Instead of surrendering to that absence, the party resolves to defeat Volcanos together, steal the spotlight for once, and imagine the astonished look on Ishudo's face. Rika rallies everyone to bring down the great lava dragon without him. In her heart, she tells the missing Ishudo to stop worrying about them and concentrate on returning safely. Their encouragement fades across the dark, empty hall beyond the portal, emphasizing how completely Ishudo has been separated from his companions and their desperate battle. Asmodeus apologizes for the rough journey, while Darsha insists that a proper conversation must begin with a greeting. Looking at her captive, she declares that Ishudo appears perfect in this form. Darsha formally welcomes the enormous horned figure, restrained before her, as Ishudo the adventurer, revealing the ominous form she intended to confront after abducting him.